Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Southern Virginia University Baseball from Rockbridge County High School. I'm Jim Bresnahan, joined by Mike Harmon, getting ready to bring you Southern Virginia Baseball as the Knights get ready, Mike, to take on Mary Washington in a key matchup in the Capital Conference.
Yeah, this is going to be like you said, a key game in the Capital Conference. The Knights coming off a really tough losses to Frostburg yesterday, the number 12 team in the nation. They need to try to win this game to stay in tied for sixth place.
Knights come in 4-6 in the conference, 5-11 overall, facing a Mary Washington team that is 7-5 overall, or 7-5 in the conference, 16-5 overall. And as you mentioned, Mike, the Knights come in tied for sixth right now with Wesleyan. Of course, the top six make the Capital Conference tournament. And right ahead of Wesley at 4-6 is York at 4-5, and then Marymount at 5-5. So you can see a very tight situation for teams 4, 5, 6, and 7. And out of those four right now, and again, you got to remember too that Christopher Newport is at 4-8, so they're just a game behind the Knights. But really, you're talking five teams there that are battling for, again, just 3 spots in that listing. And you're talking about Christopher Newport 4-8 all the way to Marymount at 5-5, and Mary Washington itself says 7-5.
Looks like we're going to have the national anthem now, so we'll take a little break and come right back.
Welcome back here to Rockbridge County High School. Jim Bresnahan, Mike Harmon. We're just seconds away from getting this Capital Conference baseball game underway between Southern Virginia and Mary Washington. The Knights coming off that tough loss on the road at Frostburg yesterday, Mike, and they've had a couple of losses this season. One earlier in the season at Mary Washington. The game, of course, against Frostburg on Wednesday. Several games where they just have not been able to produce the offense. They've gotten good pitching, but have lost really tough road games in the Capital Conference.
Yeah, and anytime you're on the road, you have to make sure that your offense travels with you. Speaking of Mary Washington and Southern Virginia, they played earlier on in the year. There is a great offensive stud for Mary Washington, Yano Hout, who almost single-handedly beat the Knights last time. He had 3 RBIs and scored 3 runs himself. Talked to Coach Mann earlier about him, and he said he didn't care if the bases were loaded. He was going to go ahead and walk him each and every time just to make sure Hout doesn't beat him.
So yesterday it was Chris Madison, the senior right-hander, who pitched pretty well, Mike, but just gave up a few runs late in that game, and the Knights really could never score against Frostburg, unlike the first game between those two teams, where Frostburg won in Beckley, I think, 19-10.
Yeah, Chris had everything working really well for him yesterday. I heard it was the best game that he's pitched in a very long time. Command on both sides of the plate, and really was working his changeup to perfection. Just unfortunately, when you play the number 12 team in the nation, you're going to have to score more than 1 run, preferably 6 or 7. I talked to Coach Mann again and asked him about how many runs his team needed to score consistently to get those and mount those wins. And he told me anywhere between 5 to 7 runs, they should be able to win several more games.
Okay, and today it looks like maybe Justin King, the sophomore left-hander, is going to get the start for the Knights on the mound.
Yeah, Justin's one of those crafty left-handers, not overpowering, but able to really make sure that he mixes speeds well, and also keeps the ball down in the zone, so we don't see any balls flying out of here.
And we are ready to go, Mike, and he'll be facing a right-hander for Mary Washington to get this game underway. Knights will try to get some good pitching here early, Mike, and try to avoid those errors which have plagued the Knights from time to time throughout the season.
Yeah, the errors have really hurt them. And it's always coming in 1 or 2 innings. I think this is a Keller up to bat now for Mary Washington.
King's first pitch is low. So we are underway here at Rockbridge County High School. Key game again for both teams. Mary Washington 7-5 of the conference. They are right now in third place, and the Knights come in with a record in the conference again 4-6 after that loss to Frostburg. Two balls now.
I think that last one was a strike. He pulled the string on it just enough.
1-1. That one called a strike too, so it's 1-2. King ahead of the batter.
And this is the way that they wanted to see Justin go ahead and start, is to make sure that he gets ahead of the batters and then tries to get them to expand their strike zone.
1-2 delivery. Hit foul. So the hitter stays alive on a 1-2 count.
But just a gorgeous day for baseball today. Wind slightly blowing in, so hopefully they'll keep all the balls in on Mary Washington's side and then turn and go out for the Knights.
Nice strikeout of Keller to begin the game as he went fishing, Mike, on a low pitch, and a good strikeout to begin the game here for the, again, left-handed sophomore in Justin King. So one gone.
Justin Keim, number 6, up to bat now for Mary Washington.
And King's first pitch. Looks like that one's going to be a ball. Keim is the junior shortstop for the Eagles of Mary Washington. Here comes King's 1-0 delivery. That one's pounded foul, so it's a 1-1 count now.
And we've seen that the pitches that Justin really has control of is that curveball today. Comes in slightly slower than any other pitch that he has, and a really sharp break downward.
1-1 pitch. That one's called a strike. You look at the infield or the defense laying out, and of course on the left side of the infield, you've got Andress at shortstop, Fenn the third baseman. And the Knights have really depended on a couple of hitters this season. Giovanna Prado, of course, the junior, has had an amazing season hitting the ball. He's got 3 home runs this season.
Gio's been really working hard in the batting cage all season long, and even before the season started.
That ball ripped into right field past the second baseman, bobbled by the right fielder, but they get the ball back in to hold the batter to a single.
And nice job of Keim just going in with the pitch, not trying to do too much with it.
Now here comes John O'Hott, as you mentioned. He's a 6 foot, 205 pound senior.
And now we'll get to see if Coach Mann is going to be true to his word and go ahead and walk him. Looks like they're going to pitch to him, though.
Oh, lefty-lefty matchup here. King's first pitch. Looks like that's low. You wonder if, again, if there's a lot of fear for Hott here, maybe that's one of the reasons they decided to go with the left-hander.
Could be.
Instead of Bradley Jackson, obviously, who, Jackson is a right-hander as far as his throwing ability is concerned, even though he's been the best pitcher this season for the Knights. They go over to first base, runners back.
Well, Houts has hitting close to 600 so far in the season. I wouldn't put anything close to him to make someone else try to hurt me.
Hard to imagine a better hitter in the Capital Conference.
No, he is the leading hitter, and again, Coach Mann, talking to him, said this is the best hitter he's seen since he's been associated with baseball here at Southern Virginia.
Justin King paying a lot of attention, Mike, to the runner at first base with one gone.
Yeah, I want to try to keep him close. That way, if the ball gets into the gap, won't be able to score from first base.
King will come to the plate this time. Strike called. King trying to work around the runner at first base, and a fearful hitter at the plate in Hott.
Yeah, Hott has 7 home runs, 35 RBIs. Just an amazing offensive player.
Runner has a decent lead at first. King will come to the plate. Looks like that one's going to be called a ball.
And we can see that they're working really carefully to him, keeping everything down in a way, trying to neutralize some of the power.
Love to hit him get them to hit it on the ground, Mike, and see if they can turn 2 here.
That would be the ideal situation right now.
King will come to the plate, and that one's fouled back.
And that was a mistake that King made that he got away with. Right down the middle, Hot's going to want that one back.
Trying to get the strikeout or maybe a double play ball with a runner at first and one gone here in the top of the first inning. Here comes the pitch from King.
It looks like it got him.
Hit him a little too far inside. Moves Hot over to first base. Other runner moves up to second. So the Eagles of Mary Washington now have 2 on and 1 out here in the top of the first inning.
And really, that's not the worst thing that could have happened there. Putting Hot on, not letting him swing the bat.
Now another left-hander will hit for Mary Washington. They've got 2 runners on base and only 1 out here in the top of the first. Knights trying to avoid any damage early in this baseball game.
Yeah, this is Mitch Moynihan.
That pitch is high. King hasn't had that many starts as a starting pitcher. I think just one this season, Mike.
One start, appeared in 7 games.
Good ERA.
15 innings underneath him, yeah, an ERA of 1.7. So he's been able to do the job, but this is a very talented offensive team that he's facing, probably in the likes that he hadn't seen so far this season.
1-0 pitch. Runners taking off and then dart back after another ball, I believe low that pitch was. And King in trouble here in the first inning after getting the first batter a single, a hit batsman, 2 on, and a 2-0 count now to the hitter.
Yeah, the best thing that could happen right now is a strikeout or a weak grounder to the shortstop, and they could turn a double play.
Runners are going, and they'll throw down to second. The other runner steals third. Hot makes it into second base, no problem. Great leap and great start for both runners, and now they've got second and third and only 1 gone.
You know, and that just goes to show you Hot didn't even have to slide on that one. He's a catcher, and he's that fast. So, you know, just a great athlete. But now the Knights are really in trouble, second and third with only 1 out.
King would really like a pop-up here, maybe in the infield. His pitch, called strike.
You know, and over and
Looked
over.
like a looping curveball from here, Mike.
Yeah, that off-speed curveball that he's throwing. It's not a hard curve, but it's got a really sharp break, and that timing issue for the Eagles, they just can't get it down. So I'd keep on throwing that, and then hopefully get into another pitcher in about 2 or 3 innings.
King hoping to get the strikeout or a pop-up here with runners at second and third, and that one swung on and missed. Mitch Moynihan, 6'2", 175-pound junior, left-handed hitter.
It looks like we have another pitcher already warming up for the Knights. Can't see the number, but looks like he's just trying to get loose. Hopefully, again, the ideal would be for King to get through 3 innings and then be removed.
That ball grounded foul. I wondered at the very beginning, King, if he was, the ball depends how he pitches, obviously, but if they were really just looking for 3 or 4 innings out of him.
Well, a midweek game, you have a lot of pitchers on the staff that have thrown just a minimal amount of innings. You can afford to go through several pitchers, give the offense different looks.
King's pitch hit to the right side of the second baseman, who makes the play to first. 1 run is in. Hot moves over to third. Now there are 2 gone in the inning, and Mary Washington grabs the early lead here, 1-0.
Again, nice play by the second baseman, able to stay with that hop. Mary Washington did what they had to do, though, is hit the ball to the right side to score the run.
Now James Sink, junior outfielder, steps in for Mary Washington. He's got Hot at third base, 2 gone. There's a bunt, and it's bunted foul. Mary Washington, obviously, Mike, wants to get that second run in here in the first inning. Knights would love to get out of here with only allowing 1 run.
Yeah, so anything that Mary Washington can do to manufacture the next run, they're going to try to do. And I wouldn't be surprised with as fast as Hot is. That first bunt wasn't a suicide squeeze or a squeeze play, but they might be doing some type of trick play to get that run across.
That pitch high, 1-1 the count. Justin King, again a sophomore, left-hander, has allowed 1 run here in the top of the first inning. And that ball is pounded foul down the left field line. So King 1 strike away from getting out of this first inning without allowing only just the 1 run.
And if he does that, then he's done a great job. Again, yeah, Hout out there that's just a marvelous offensive machine. Hit him to put him on base, not a bad deal, but giving up 1 run.
Sink takes a ball. Well, that first hit that went over to right field, especially with a guy like Hott following, that was not the way King wanted to really get this first inning underway, especially since he had got the leadoff hitter.
Yeah, that was wasn't what the plan was. I'm sure anytime that you can try to get Hout coming up to bat with nobody on base is always preferential.
Sink takes a ball there. Hott trying to get out of this inning, or make that King is. Hott is at third base. 2 are gone here in the top of the first inning. Sink waiting on King's delivery here. Big pitch. Sink hits the ball straight away center field. Center fielder is there and makes the grab. So we have played a half inning, and Mary Washington scores first in this baseball game with the score. Mary Washington 1, and the Knights coming up. Well, Mary Washington got a run at the top of the first. Now the Knights are ready to hit. They'll be facing Gabe Tonga, a left-handed sophomore starting pitcher, 6'1", 250. He's a left-hander. And, of course, the first time these two teams met on the road in Mary Washington, Mike, the Knights fell prey to a pretty good left-handed starting pitcher in Ryan Van Ash. So they're facing another Mary Washington left-hander today.
Yeah, a little bit different pitcher. Van Ash is a pure power pitcher. about 10 strikeouts a game. Tonga only averages about 5, but it has an ERA of 4.02.
And Luke Smith, the leadoff hitter for the Knights, takes a strike and then swings and misses. So he's quickly in the hole 0-2.
Yeah, Luke has a 323 batting average. On base percentage is only 338 though, and as a leadoff hitter, you'd like that to be up around 500.
Which means what? He's drawn like 1 or 2 walks this year. There's a ball drilled, and it goes to the left field wall and along the line, foul. So still 2 strikes. Yeah, when you've got an on-base percentage that is just maybe 15 points over your batting average, that probably means you've only had 1 or 2 or 3 walks this season.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Luke has 14 strikeouts. So very aggressive at the plate, but like to see him a little bit more patient and draw a few more walks.
He's got 2 strikes on him right now. Tonga, with nobody on base, will go from the stretch and over to Tonga will throw, and he throws it away as Smith gets down the line pretty quickly and moves on over to second base.
Yeah, Smith.
So instead of going with the windup with nobody on base, he pitches from the stretch from the belt, and Smith was able to get down the line on a ball right back to Tonga Mike, and then throw over wild, not even close to the first baseman.
Yeah, he should have just held on to that ball because they've played Southern Virginia before. They know about their players. Luke Smith is one of the faster players on the Knights team. He plays center field, and in their priority system in the outfield, is if Luke can get to it, let him have it.
And so the Knights have their opening runner on base, their leadoff hitter on base here in the bottom of the first inning, trailing 1-0. See if Smith tries to steal third or lets the hitter do his job.
Well, I would imagine that he was, once you get on to second, you're in scoring position, you're going to let him do his job unless the ball gets thrown away.
Tonga's pitch is high.
Up to bat is C.J. Andrus now.
Andrus, another one of those top hitters for the Knights. They've had really good performances from Smith, as we've talked about, Andrus, and of course, we also mentioned Prado. He's got 3 home runs. I think the Knights as a team only have 5 homers this season. Swung on a miss for a strike.
Yeah, Andrus is hitting 306 with 10 RBIs. So, again, Luke Smith is in an RBI position at second base. Anything that gets to the outfield, really, in the gaps, Luke should be able to score.
That ball grounded to third. Nabbed by the third baseman, throws over and gets the runner, Andrus, and forces Smith to stay at second base. So not what the Knights wanted. If they were going to go in the infield, Mike, they wanted to go to the right side, but they hit the ball to the left side instead.
Yeah, you have to know what your job is when you get up there, and especially with someone in a scoring position, and it's always hit the ball to the right side to move them to the next base.
Now lefty against lefty as Tonga throws. Called a ball.
Madison Hildebrand up to bat now.
He is a junior left-hander. He's really in need of getting a base hit at this point with 1 gone and a runner at second.
Yeah, and he's one of the ones that can do it at 385, a 522 on base percentage. Just a marvelous hitter.
Figuring maybe Prado's the on-deck hitter, Mike. That's a pretty good top 4 of the lineup.
It is a very stacked top 4. Again, not so much power-wise, but getting on base, your batting average is way over 300 for all 4 of the batters.
Knights have had their outburst of offense this season, but they've also run into some pretty good starting pitchers. Today it's Tonga, the left-hander for Mary Washington. That's a called strike.
And Madison didn't think so. He kind of gave the umpire a little.
It was kind of high.
What are you talking about?
This pitch swung on and missed. Knights looking for a big hit here with a runner at second base, but 1 gone in the inning and trailing 1-0 here in the bottom of the first inning.
With 2 strikes now, Madison's really got to make sure that he has a short swing to the ball. Just put the ball in play and let the contact happen.
High pitch, ball 4. So the Knights have 2 on, 1 gone. In this situation, at the top of the first, Mary Washington, similar situation, they had runners steal a third base and second base.
They got Mason Finn up to bat.
The third baseman, 5'9" junior.
245 average, 6 RBIs. We'll see if the Knights have any type of play on right now.
Nice lead for Smith at second base. Tonga's pitch popped up right side and out of play.
Anything in the air deep enough to the right side, especially the right fielder, Luke Smith, look for him to tag up and make it to third.
Yeah, Fenn swings and misses. Pitch might have been a little low. That's the second strike against him, though.
And I know with your fourth batter, you don't really want to look at trying to manufacture runs, but when your offense didn't travel with you well to Frostburg, you might want to think about maybe bunting in that situation at the very beginning.
Fenn strikes out. High pitch, it looked like again, Mike, but he went after it, and now 2 outs for the Knights.
Yeah, sometimes those pitches up around your chest, letters high, just are way too tantalizing. Pitchers rely on you to go after that. Prado up to bat now.
And he needs to get a base hit to drive home a run. Swings and misses. Lefty-lefty matchup here. Tonga really responding against Fenn, and now Prado with that first pitch to Prado.
And it looks like the Knights' swing is really long right now. It looks like they're trying to really muscle up. We are playing at a field that's a little bit shorter than they're used to playing on, so the fence just looks very tantalizing being that close to you.
Tonga and Prado, lefty-lefty. Swung on, missed.
Again, a high pitch right up around the letters.
Tonga trying to work out of a little jam here with runners at first and second. Had 1 out, first and second, now 2 gone. Trying to get rid of Prado and end the inning. Strike 3 called. Prado is gone. The Knights are gone here in the bottom of the first. With your score, Mary Washington 1, Southern Virginia nothing. We'll come back for the second inning coming up in just a few seconds. Welcome back to Rockbridge County High School. Jim Bresnahan joined by Mike Harmon as we get ready for second inning action. Mary Washington 1 and Southern Virginia nothing. Justin King ready to start his second inning of work.
Good way to start off the inning with a strike.
Lefty-lefty matchup.
Yeah, it's the first baseman up to bat.
King's pitch, a called strike right there on the corner. So King quickly ahead of the hitter, 0-2.
Yeah, this is the freshman David Schlupek, 6-foot freshman.
See if King wastes one here on an 0-2 pitch. Got the hitter to ground it to the left side of the second baseman, over to first, and they get the opening runner. So
and he was
first
trying.
Runner is gone.
He was trying to waste that pitch. Schlupek kind of got his 9-iron out and went after it.
This is a big game, Mike. When you look at the conference standings with Mary Washington 7-5, Knights a couple of games under 500 in the conference, and as we mentioned, that log jam really, if you count Mary Washington all the way to Newport, you're talking about a lot of teams from essentially, third place all the way down to 7th or 8th place.
Yeah, the top two teams are set. You got Salisbury and Frostburg, both of them ranked in the top 10 in the United States in Division III. Mary Washington, very good team. But then after that, the Knights could separate themselves. If they could beat Mary Washington, they can really separate themselves from the rest of the pack.
Thomas Weaver flies out to center field. Quickly 2 gone here for Mary Washington in the top of the second inning. So King rolling along here in the second inning as opposed to the first inning when he put a couple of runners on and one of those runners was able to score. Well, it looks like Brian Burns, sophomore outfielder, will come to the plate for Mary Washington.
And he's one of the first Mary Washington batters to come up to bat that's not at least 6 foot. They got him listed at about 5'9".
Right-handed hitter. King's pitch. Ruled a ball. And the Knights have a lot of games coming up, Mike. They've got a really tough doubleheader, of course, against Salisbury on Saturday, and then a lot of games next week.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the unfortunate way the schedules come out.
Drilled to center field. And the center fielder makes the grab for out number 3. So a 1-2-3 inning, Mike, and that will certainly help.
Yeah, that was great. 3 up, 3 down. Get the bats back going again. Great job by Lucas Smith to track down that ball out there in center field.
Smith grabs the 3rd out, and we are through an inning and a half with your score. Mary Washington 1 and Southern Virginia. Ready to go. Bottom of the second inning after a 1-2-3 inning by the Knights pitcher Justin King. Tonga, the pitcher for Mary Washington, hoping for the same thing.
Yeah, Caleb Kaplan up for the Knights, a 278 hitter right now. Looking to get on base any way you can. Really just let that first pitch go by him because it was too low.
5'9" freshman. 1-0 count becomes 2-0. Another low pitch.
And this is what you have to do against some of these left-handers is make sure that they're throwing the balls in the strike zone. They like to kind of nibble and pick, and if you start chasing their stuff.
High one's high and away. Quickly 3-0. And if you're Kaplan, even though the Knights had some chances in that bottom of the first, Mike, with basically the heart of their order, you get to the bottom of the order, you just want to kind of manufacture something. 3-0 count, and there's a ball right over for the first strike.
And now really this is a great hitter's count also. Kaplan should be looking for something in the middle in.
This ball is fouled to the catcher, and the catcher will put it away for the first out. So popped up right to the catcher who makes the play, and 1 gone for the Knights. So after a 3-0 start for Kaplan, he pops up to the catcher, and the Knights, no one on, 1 gone here in the bottom of the second.
Zach McNally up, and Zach's really been struggling so far at the plate. 178 batting average. Hopefully he can or 128, sorry, batting average. Hopefully he can start to bust out of that now.
And he takes ball 1, Zach McNally, 6'1" sophomore. Tonga a little wild here in the bottom of the second, but he was able to get the first hitter. That ball's low. He's really struggling, Mike, the last couple of hitters here to really find the strike zone consistently.
He sure is. And, in the first inning and in this inning, he's going from the stretch, which is kind of unusual. Usually you only see closers do that. Maybe he's just trying to conserve energy because it is kind of warmer than they've been used to playing in.
There's ball 3. And McNally takes a quick walk to first after another ball. That one was high. So 4 straight balls to McNally. He's on first base, 1 gone. And we'll see what the Knights can do with that walk by Tonga.
Tanner Wild up to bat now, 203 batting average.
That ball ripped to left field, over the left fielder's head, up against the wall. And McNally will hustle over to third. He kind of took a little bit of time getting around second base, and Wild moves into second base with a double, and he put that ball right over the left fielder's head. And I'm not sure the left fielder, Mitch Moynihan, had a good look at that. He kind of got a late break on that ball that really just kept on rising.
Yeah, that was just a screaming line drive. Hardly any time to react to it. It got past the left fielder very quickly. A great job by attacking that first pitch. And now the Knights really have a great opportunity.
So McNally is the runner at third. Tonga facing another left-hander with second and third and 1 gone. Takes a ball. Tonga trying to work out of trouble here. He's been having problems with his control.
And this
He's
is
got
where
Wild at second base and McNally at third.
And the Knights need to take advantage of Tonga being wild.
Second and third, 1 out. Knights could score in various ways here with second and third. That ball is low. Wild pitch, sac fly, obviously a base hit, could even drive home 2 runs and put the Knights ahead in this game.
And from our vantage point, it's having a hard time seeing the batter right now. Zach McNally's right in our way.
That ball low again, Mike. And Tonga has been high at times, high and outside, low. Been low to this hitter. As we mentioned a few seconds ago, he's struggling to find the strike zone here in the second inning, and it's cost him after getting the opening runner out, or the opening hitter out on a pop to the catcher. That one is a called strike.
Yeah, it was right down the middle, and there was no way that the Knights hitter was going to swing at that after him throwing 3 straight balls. But again, another great hitter's count. Can attack this pitch if it's in his zone, and I'm sure Coach Mann's looking for anything in from the middle of the zone out.
High, ball 4. Bases are loaded. So the bases are loaded with 1 out, and a great chance here in the bottom of the second for the Knights to get some runs.
And they're back to the top of the lineup with Luke Smith. On first base is number 27, Ryan Saunders. So a conference going on the mound now. Bases loaded, only 1 out. Again, multiple ways to score for the Knights. A sacrifice fly, a wild pitch, anything that gets out of the infield, and if they can take the ball to the right side, to the second baseman, if the second baseman plays at regular depth, we should be able to see a run scored to tie up this game.
Although with a hitter like Luke Smith, you know the Knights have got to be, Logan Mann's got to be thinking about at least a single, get a couple of runs on, maybe even a gapper and clear the bases.
Oh, that would be very, very good.
I'm sure that's what Justin King is thinking about.
Oh, I'm sure that's what all the Knights are thinking about right now, is trying to make sure that these, at least 2 of these 3 runs that are on base come in. Now it's going to be really important that Luke Smith, who is the freshman, doesn't try to do too much.
Yeah, because there is the reverse to all of this, and that might, the thing that comes to mind would be maybe a ground ball to the pitcher, starts double play, and you're out of the inning.
Yeah, that's the one thing you don't want to see. And it looks like the Eagles from Mary Washington are playing back at double play depth.
Tonga, the left-hander, trying to get Luke Smith, the right-handed hitter. Bases loaded, 1 gone. Knights trail 1-0 here in the bottom of the second. Ball is low. If you're Tonga right now, you're thinking control too. You don't want to walk the first run in for the Knights.
Yeah, but you also don't want to try to think control too much, because that's when you try to be too fine and leave that ball right over the middle of the plate.
That ball looks like it's low again. 2-0 to Luke Smith.
And now if you're Luke, you really want to start looking for that ball to be right over the middle of the plate, for Tonga's trying to find that strike zone.
2-0 pitch from Tonga. Strike called.
And that might have been the pitch that that Luke wanted to go with. It looked like a little bit on the outside corner. He could have gone with it. And if he gets the ball down into the right field corner, he can run for days.
2-1 pitch, high. That's ball 3. 3-1 now. Knights are a ball away from getting a walk that'll force a run home.
Now, if you're Tonga, you don't want to be too fine, but you want to make sure you don't get that walk in. Luke's got to be thinking about that. Pick a side of the plate, look for the ball there.
And that one is a walk. So Smith draws the walk. Run comes home. We are tied at 1. Big hit in this inning, of course, was Tanner Wild, his double. And now the bases are loaded, still just 1 out. And the Knights have a chance here to now break the tie, which is 1-1.
A lot of activity going on over at the bullpen for the Eagles. Slopek's already been up and warmed up, and it looks like they're going to make that change now.
C.J. Andrus is the hitter here for the Knights. Bases loaded, 1 out. Tonga seemed to be rolling along until he ran into some control problems here in the bottom of the second.
And just as easy as he got a few strikeouts at the beginning, just lost control just like that right before our eyes, and the Knights doing a great job of being patient at the plate. That's one of the first walks that Luke Smith has had in a long time.
So Slupek will be the pitcher. He's a right-hander, junior, 6 foot, 190. He'll come in to face a right-handed hitter, I believe, in Andrus.
And so still, if you're CJ, you want to make sure that you're not trying to do too much with the ball. Just square it up with the barrel of the bat and let the contact happen. Hopefully you get it to where it's going to go into one of the gaps. If he puts it on the outside part of the plate, just go with it and get it to the right side.
Bases loaded, 1 gone. Knights 1 and the Eagles 1.
We have Slopek, the junior, and he was just out playing in the outfield.
One thing's for sure, again, with 1 out, unless there's a quick double play ball, Justin King is going to be sitting quite a while in the dugout, ready to pitch the top of the 3rd inning.
Yeah, but
he'll take it.
Yeah, he'll take it, and he's a very smart pitcher. And the pitching coach is his brother, who's done a lot of pitching, not only for the Knights, but has played in the Wooden Bat Leagues during the summertime, and they do a great job of making sure that their pitchers stay warm in the dugout. And also, I saw them out a little bit, doing a few little bit of calisthenics to make sure that they stayed loose.
So here we go. Big situation for the Knights and Mary Washington. We're only in the bottom of the second. It's all tied at 1. Bases are loaded for the Knights with 1 out. And here comes Andrus to face the relief pitcher, Slupek.
Slupek comes in with a 3.52 ERA. It'd be nice to see the Knights get that 3 runs right now.
Maybe even 4 if he puts it over the fence. Of course, the Knights have only had 5 homers this season. This ball is popped up in the outfield, short. We'll see if that is able to get a run home or not. Left fielder makes the grab. They send the runner home, and he is safe with a sac fly by Andrus, as the left fielder Moynihan in left center was able to make the catch, but not able to throw out the runner. And so the Knights now have runners at first and second. 2 are out in the inning, Mike, and they've got the lead here for the first time today, 2-1.
And this is where the Knights want to be, is in control, making sure that they're playing from ahead.
Now with runners at first and second and 2 out.
Madison Hildebrand up to bat.
He's had a great season, and he's got, again, with a single here, can give the Knights their 3rd run of the inning.
Yeah, he's got a really great eye, too. He's not going to swing at anything that's outside the strike zone.
Fenn's on deck, and then Prado. Now you've got a righty-lefty matchup. Slupek was able to get Andrus to fly to left center, but that sac fly has given the Knights the lead here, 2-1.
A lot of conversation going on, and looks like they changed pitchers again.
Bringing in another pitcher to face the left-hander. And Slupek's coming out of the game.
Number 17 for Mary Washington.
David Phillips, 6'2" junior. So Mary Washington really going all out here. We've seen 3 pitchers, and we're not even done with the second inning.
Bring up David Phillips.
So they really want to go with
here.
the lefty-lefty, righty-righty matchups.
Yeah, they're trying to get out of this inning without any more damage.
Knights already have a couple of runs on to take the lead, 2-1. This would be a huge victory again, as we mentioned, Mike, to beat Mary Washington, a team that's 7-5 in the conference. I know you got a tough doubleheader coming up. The Knights do at Salisbury on Saturday, but then a lot of winnable games if they can get them in. Obviously, there's some rain in the forecast next week, but they've got, I think, a doubleheader at home against Wesley on Monday. They've got a non-conference game against Emory and Henry. They got a single game, I believe, on Wednesday against Christopher Newport, and then a week from Saturday, a very big home doubleheader against Penn State Harrisonburg. And all those games next week very winnable, even though the road doubleheader coming up against Salisbury on Saturday is going to be very, very tough.
Yeah, that's the toughest game that they're going to have in the foreseeable future. The games against Wesley and the games against Penn State Harrisburg, those are must wins. CNU coming here, CNU is really struggling right now, and if, again, the Knights can take care of those 5 games, that puts them squarely in the top 4.
That makes this kind of game against Mary Washington, an upper-level team, a huge victory if you can get it today, Mike.
Yeah, that just catapults you even further and could overtake Mary Washington for the 3rd place if they can get those games in next week and win them.
You get to 3rd place. I'm guessing you're hosting the opening round of the tournament, right?
Round, yeah. So the 3rd and 4th place team host.
This ball is hit to the outfield, but right to the center fielder, who makes the grab for the 3rd out of the inning. The Knights score 2 runs in the 2nd inning. We have played 2. It is Southern Virginia 2, Mary Washington 1. Well, Justin King ready to go for inning number 3, and now he's got the lead at Southern Virginia 2, Mary Washington 1 as we start the top of the 3rd. The lefty King is facing a right-handed hitter, and Kyle Bynum for Mary Washington.
And after a little rocky start in the 1st inning, that 2nd inning, Justin really settled down, 3 up and 3 down. I'm sure he's looking for that now.
That was a ball. King back on a 1-0 count. Ball 2 doesn't want to run into the same problems that Tonga ran into. Control problems for Tonga. The starting pitcher for Mary Washington had a rough 2nd inning. They went through 3 pitchers in the 2nd. King gets Bynum to swing at a foul ball, so it's strike 1 on Bynum. 2-1 the count now. But if you're King, or really any pitcher, obviously, Mike, you just want to work, make your defense work a little bit, let them hit the ball. Unless you can get strikeouts, you just don't want to give them cheap walks. That ball ripped to center field and deep, and it's over the center fielder's head all the way to the wall. Bynum will get 2. They'll quickly get the ball back into the infield and hold Bynum to a double. He really ripped that one to center, though.
He did, and that's one of the hardest balls to really judge is a line drive that's coming right at you. The depth perception just isn't there anytime the ball's coming straight at you. We saw that with Luke Smith, and we
Kind
saw
of
it
froze
earlier.
a little bit, looked like.
Yeah, we saw it earlier with the
Moynihan, left
outfielder
fielder.
Moynihan.
Yeah. Not sure if if he had broken back on the ball from the very beginning, if he could have gotten to that ball because it was really ripped. So Bynum's at second, nobody gone. King is trying to work out of damage here in the 3rd inning with a 1-run lead.
We have James Keller up to bat. Another good way to start that batter off with a strike after giving up that double.
And I'm sure they're always thinking about how, Hot, the number 3 hitter. You don't want to put anybody on base when he's approaching, coming up to hit.
Yeah, and I think he's lurking on deck right now. Oh, that's number 6.
King, the left-handed pitcher, entered the 3rd with a 2-run lead, or 2-1 lead. And right now he's got Bynum out at second base. Nobody out for Mary Washington. Pitch to Keller is high for a ball.
And again, for either one of these teams to win, they're really going to have to make sure that they score over 5 runs. So at a 2-1 game right now, we haven't seen the end of scoring.
And you just wonder how deep into their bullpen or roster, as far as the amount of pitchers, each team might go today. Swung on and missed, or fouled back, so now 2 strikes on Keller.
Both teams have doubleheaders coming up on Saturday. Obviously, we've been talking about Southern Virginia going up and playing Salisbury, who's very highly ranked. Mary Washington plays Marymount for a doubleheader on Saturday, and they will probably throw their 2 aces right there.
2 strikes on Keller. King would love to get the strikeout here, or maybe a pop-up, so the runner at second base does not advance. King's pitch is low. Doesn't want to walk Keller, of course.
No, that would put 2 on with nobody out. Keim coming up, and then you have Houck on deck. That wouldn't be something that the Knights really want to see, especially King.
Big pitch here. Low again. Stopped by the catcher to avoid the pass ball or a wild pitch. King struggling here in the 3rd.
Yeah, and you made a great point earlier that King had been sitting down a lot in that last inning, and come back out, and his control just hasn't been as pinpoint as it was in the 2nd inning.
Not sure the wind blowing too, how much that comes into play. Right now, King is trying to come up with a big 3-2 pitch to Keller with Bynum at second, and here it comes. And this ball ripped to center field, base hit. Run's going to score. Smith bobbles the ball, gets it back in. Bynum will score. Keller stops at first, and we're tied at 2 here in the 3rd. So maybe now the Knights are starting to think about possibly what Mary Washington had to do in the 2nd. Get somebody up, possibly here, Mike, and depending on what King can do with the rest of this inning.
And you got Keim up to bat now, and that brings Houck up right afterwards. And if Keim gets on, if we don't see any activity in the bullpen, so it looks like to me that Coach Mann is going to go with Justin King as long as he can, and until Justin says I can't go anymore.
Big strike there. If you can get this hitter, Mike, and keep that runner at first base, maybe you got a little more flexibility against Hot. If you get a hit here, you don't have much to do with the next hitter. You just really have to face him.
Yeah, but you don't want to give in to him either. I wouldn't expect the Knights to, if Keim gets on and Houck comes up to bat, I wouldn't expect them to really put anything over the wide of the plate.
Grounded to Fenn, makes a nice stab at it, throws over to second. They'll get the lead runner. No chance at a double play, so that was a big out at second base. Keeps runners out of scoring position for the next hitter, and now 2 gone and a runner at first base.
And now we'll have to see how careful the Knights are with Hout here. If they give him anything close to the plate to hit, or if they try to make him fish for anything.
Of course, you don't want to walk him and put a runner into scoring position, but then again, some of the damage Hout could do, maybe you do.
Yeah, you don't want to put something over the plate though, and see the ball go over the fence.
King would love to get a pickoff, but the runner's back. Tied at 2 here in the top of the 3rd inning.
You know, and we are talking about the best hitter in the Capital Athletic Conference.
Well, you wonder if Hott is someone who might be drafted.
Could be. I know that a lot of the coaches have a lot of contacts with Major League Scouts. Coach Mann has several contacts with Major League Scouts, and he's told them that this is the only hitter that he's actually seen that could play on a professional basis.
King throws back to first, almost threw it away. Nice play by the first baseman there, Mike, to make sure the ball didn't get by.
Yeah, Prado was able to dig that ball out, almost drop down to his knees and block it like a catcher.
King, let's see if he deals to the plate this time. He will. Ball hit to the shortstop. Play is made at second base to safe. So they decided to go to second, not go over to first. Went for the shorter distance, but the runner was able to beat the throw to second base, and so it's an infield hit, or at least a fielder's choice. And interesting, I guess that obviously the shortstop thought maybe the quickest and safest play was to go to second, Mike.
Yeah, his momentum was taking him towards the third base line. It had been a really tough throw to go all the way across the field to first base, and may have even thrown it away, so that was really the only play that he could have.
Not the worst thing that could happen if you can get this next hitter. And it's lefty-lefty matchup here for King. Runners at first and second now for Mary Washington, a tie 2-2 ball game. There's a called strike. Knights trying to get out of this inning without allowing any further runs and try to keep this score tied and go to the bottom of the 3rd and try to retake the lead.
And this is the left fielder Moynihan up to bat. Taking his time, trying to throw.
That ball low.
And as a pitcher, you do want to try to expand the strike zone. That was trying to expand it a little bit too much.
King trying to get this hitter and get out of the inning here in the top of the 3rd inning. There is a called strike. Nice pitch there by Justin King.
And Knights get out of this inning with the 2-2 tie. It'd be interesting to see who Mary Washington throws back out there to pitch.
Makes you wonder how many pitchers they might go through today. They've gone through 3 already.
I think they have 10 on their roster.
So they've got plenty left. King looks back at the runner at second, fires to the plate, ball's fouled off.
Again, very deliberate, making sure he doesn't want to make any mistakes now. Keep this ball on the infield.
King ready to go again. Lefty-lefty matchup here. Ball is hit to the outfield, to the left field, and it's grabbed by the left fielder. Nice play out there by Saunders to make the grab. As we've talked about, several really balls that have been hit to the outfield have been rising, and he was able to stay in front of that one, Mike, and get the big out, the second out of the inning with 2 gone now and still 2 on as King records a big out thanks to the left fielder.
And now the Knights can really go back and make sure that they're at double play or at regular fielding depth and not have to worry about anything. Just play the ball now.
James Sink, the right-handed hitter. He's trying to put Mary Washington back on top of the single. Looping curve, too high, ball 1. King facing the right-handed hitting Sink with a 1-0 count. Strike Swinging strike, got him to swing, 1-1.
And that's one of the best pitches we've seen this inning from Justin. Looks like he's starting to find what we saw in the last inning.
King facing Sink, 1-1 count on him. Justin delivers, ball's fouled back, 2 strikes now on Sink. Justin King, very deliberate worker, Mike.
Very deliberate, and again, because he's so deliberate, he's making the batters be a little bit more anxious and anticipate a lot more, really throwing their timing off and also just making them become a little bit more antsy at the plate.
This is third inning of work. You wonder how long Logan really ideally wants to go with him.
Well, if the score stays tied or the Knights in the lead, I'm sure they'll try to keep Justin going as long as possible.
2-strike pitch hit to the right side, base hit. Runner will score. And Mary Washington barely gets that runner into home plate. As Mary Washington, Keim able to score and beat the throw from right field. Good throw, Mike, and that was an RBI single to put Mary Washington on top here, 3-2.
Yeah, it's a nice throw by the outfielder Tanner Wild. Looks like the Keim came around third base and was kind of easing up. Didn't realize how good an arm Wild had and made it much closer play than they anticipated.
So now first and second, 2 gone, and Mary Washington is back on top, 3-2 here. They're going to appeal and say he didn't touch third base, but umpire says no, so it remains 3-2 Mary Washington here in the top of the third inning. And now King will go after the hitter, trying to get out of this inning.
Yeah, Slupek back up to bat.
They've allowed 2 runs to Mary Washington here in the third after the Knights had scored 2 runs in the second to take the lead.
And we said earlier that a 2-1 or a 2-2 game wasn't going to be enough to win the game. It's going to have to be someone that scores over 5 runs.
That ball is hit deep. Center field, and it is going to leave the ballpark. A 3-run homer by Supek, and suddenly Mary Washington has a 6-2 lead.
You know, and we could go back, and I'm sure Coach Mann's doing this and second guess a lot of things. You asked earlier, how long are you going to go with Justin King? The Knights may have gone just a little bit too long with him. But again, no one up in the bullpen.
And you go also back to that play at second base where they almost got the runner at second base and could have been out of the inning.
Yeah, that's what I'm sure they're going to look at and wish they could have back and make sure that they got that out. Inning would have been over with a 2-2 tie.
Or perhaps even nailing the runner at the plate, which was no sure thing there on that base hit. So suddenly instead Mary Washington gets a big 3-run homer, and now the Eagles have a 6-2 lead.
Thomas Weaver up to bat now.
And as we mentioned, rolling in the top of the third, this may wind up being a ball game, Mike, where both teams scored 10 runs or more. But certainly Mary Washington has to have a good feeling now with this 4-run cushion, even though there's no way to tell how long it might last.
Yeah, it's going to depend on what their pitcher's doing. We've already seen them go through 3 pitchers now, so they're starting to get down into where their aces are, and I think they want to try to save those 2 young men for this weekend.
King's pitch, that's a ball. Just a few plays, Mike, separated this inning from maybe being a tie or the score being no worse than 3-2. But a big 3-run homer has suddenly given Mary Washington a 4-run lead here in the top of the third inning.
And that's how fast fortunes can change. We saw that the momentum was all on the Knights side, and then just like that, it swung back to the Eagles.
They took a 2-run advantage by scoring 2 runs, took a 1-run lead into the top of the third, but 5 runs for Mary Washington here in the top of the third inning, and that is the strikeout that King was hoping for to get out of the inning. But Mary Washington scores 5 times here in the top of the third. With your score, Mary Washington 6, SVU 2. Left-handed pitcher David Phillips ready to work here for the Eagles. Mary Washington, bottom of the third inning. It'll be Fenn, the hitter, leading off the third for the Knights, who now trail 6-2 in this ball game. Phillips slow curve, strike one.
You know, Phillips has only been in a few games, only pitched in a very few innings, but it's averaging 2 strikeouts per inning. It's going to be interesting to see how long they leave him in.
Fenn pops it foul. 2 quick strikes on Fenn, the third baseman. And here's the pitch. Hit over to the second baseman, who makes a nice grab, fires to first, and looks like the ball gets loose, and Fenn's going to go on down to second base. So nice start to this third inning for the Knights.
Yeah, that was a great stop by the second baseman, number 16.
Keller. Yep.
Keller, but you know, that throw, he just was way off balance. Sometimes it's better to just go ahead and eat it instead of trying to make that play. Because he threw it away, now runner on second in scoring position. You got Prado up to bat, which is great news for the Knights.
Lefty-lefty matchup. Prado bunts. Interesting there, Mike. First baseman throws to the second baseman. They get the play. Prado bunts for a sacrifice. They move the runner over to third, one gone. Prado, one of the Knights' best hitters, ends up bunting for a sacrifice.
Yeah, but Prado's also one of the best teammates that you could have. I've known him since he's been here. He's all about the team and all about trying to help the team win. So anything that he can do to help the Knights score extra runs, that's what we're going to be looking at.
So a runner at third base, one gone. Knights also might be thinking, as long as they can get some pitching to really, hang in there, Mike. They got a long way to go to come back from this 4-run deficit. They're not going to do it all in one inning, they're thinking.
And it looks like they're changing pitchers again, Jim.
Runner at third, one gone.
So the Eagles are really going through their pitching staff now, giving everybody a little bit of work.
Well, you wonder if they're just trying to keep people fresh for the weekend, Mike, or if this is a game that Mary Washington really wants to win.
Well, they're going to have to try to win this game. If they don't, the Knights win. They probably looked at the same schedule that we've seen and understand that if the Knights win this game and then go on and win the games coming up next week, that they could actually move in front of them for third place. Number 28, Bernard Mayflower, now up to pitch.
And he's a junior right-hander, 5'10", 173 pounds.
And, there's no reason to hold on to pitchers. If you got them, you might as well use them. And, Jim, this is our first baseball game, and we find ourselves in a very precarious situation. We have batting cages right beside us. The high school, Rockbridge County High School, is coming over to do some batting practice, and we look like they might be hitting right at us.
Well, Mary Washington with the pitching change.
And like you said, Jim, manufacturing runs, they know this is going to be a long process. We're only in the bottom of the third. So anytime that you can get runs and hopefully get your pitching staff to really limit the other team, you want to make sure that you do what you can to earn that run.
Fenn's the runner at third, one gone. 6-2, Mary Washington. Ball fouled off. Knights would love a big inning, Mike, but first and foremost, they want to get Fenn in from third base to cut the margin down to 3.
Yeah, that's the biggest key right now is for Fenn to come on home. For the Knights right now, Caleb Kaplan in a very big position.
Mayflower trying to get him out on this relief outing. fourth Mary Washington pitcher here, and we're only in the third inning. Ball ripped to right field and a base hit. Fenn will score down the line. Kaplan stumbles, and he is going to be out at second base. Looked like he stumbled coming around first, Mike, and that might have cost him because, just a half second was maybe the difference there between getting into second base for a double and being tossed out.
Yeah, nice aggressive base running. Again, like you said, that little stumble caused that throw to nab him at second base.
So the run makes it 6-3, but then the Knights now have 2 out. And that was a big situation. Mike could have easily been second base, 1 out, another runner in scoring position. And the single makes it 6-3.
Zach McNally up now to bat. Like I said, sometimes just that aggressive base running, trying to stretch things into extra bases, causes you to either exceed and excel, or like we saw right there, get you maybe out of a big inning.
Well, it was a pretty good decision. It just, the stumble really cost him, I think, because the play was that close at second base. That ball hit on the right side of the first baseman, who throws to the pitcher, and Mayflower makes the grab at first base, and that's it for the Knights in the third inning. They get 1 run. We played 3. It is Mary Washington 6 and the Knights 3. Ready to go. Top of the fourth inning. It is 6-3. Mary Washington leading Southern Virginia. Justin King remains on the mound, Mike, for the Knights here in the top of the fourth inning.
Yeah, and he found some control at the end of the last inning. So, again, sticking with him, trying to eat up some innings because the Knights pitching staff has been worked a little bit lately.
First pitch, a ball to Brian Burns. Knights hoping for Justin maybe to stymie Mary Washington next couple of innings here and try to mount a comeback down by 3. They were able to get a run in the bottom of the third. Had a chance to get a runner to second base, but he was thrown out when he stumbled coming around first base. Otherwise, Knights would have had the runner at second and still a chance to bring home another run.
Yeah, and that stumble happened right in the middle of first and second. There was nothing that he could do just except for to continue forward. Again, like as you pointed out, he probably would have been safe if he hadn't stumbled.
King's pitch. That's a ball. Brian Burns, sophomore outfielder for Mary Washington. I might lose track. What are they up to? 4 or 5 pitchers now for the game?
They're on their 4th pitcher now. And looks like another one's going in to warm up in the bullpen.
King's pitch ripped. Base hit right field for Burns. Weird hop for the right fielder who makes the grab, gets it back in, and another hit for Mary Washington's Eagles.
Yeah, and the batters for Mary Washington are really doing a good job of going with the pitch. Justin's putting the ball on the outside corner part of the plate. Instead of trying to pull it and get themselves out, the Eagles are just going with it, and we see those hits going to right field.
So we've got a runner at first, nobody out here in the top of the 4th inning. King, the left-hander, another drilled ball, and that one is gone. A home run for Kyle Bynum. Way over the fence. towards center field. And now the Mary Washington Eagles are on top here, 8-3, Mike.
And just an unfortunate pitch there. Justin made a mistake. Bynum, being a good hitter, took care of that mistake and put it over the left field fence.
Well, that was definitely a no-doubter. That ball left the ballpark in a hurry.
And we are playing in a field that's about 30 foot shorter than any other field that they'll play in. We can't feel sorry for the Knights saying, "Oh well, that's why they're losing," because they hit at the same level too. So if they can put the ball into play up in the air, we know that the wind is blowing out a little bit. That can help carry the ball.
Well, we mentioned we're only in the top of the fourth inning, Mike, but now the lead from Mary Washington has grown to 5 here, 8-3.
And with the Knights having to just do everything they can to manufacture runs, we're getting into that danger zone of being too far ahead. The Eagles being too far ahead to make a huge comeback.
Justin King talking to him a little bit. Looks like the Knights have someone warming up in the bullpen now. And you have to make that decision. You just go with King and write this one off, or even though we're, again, only in the top of the fourth inning.
Well, I know Coach Mann, and I know that he never writes anything off. He's one of the most competitive people that I know. So he's formulating some type of plan on how to make
and needless to say, you really can't write anything off when you're this close to, this really, and there's a long way to go, a couple more weeks to go in the season, but this close to really competing for one of the top 6 spots in the postseason conference tournament. And
we said earlier, you are playing the number 3 team in your conference. This win would be huge as it brings them closer to you, but also sets you up for a potentially 5-game sweep next week in the conference.
8-3, top of the fourth after the Bynum home run, the 2-run homer. This ball hit to right field. Down the line. Fair. Runner is going to coast.
And now they call foul ball.
They do call it a foul ball down the right field line.
And it looks like Wild was just kind of jogging after it. He knew it was foul. The only ones that didn't call it was the
Kellers
umpires.
is still at second base. And that may wind up being called a fair ball.
Well, they must have called it a dead ball as it got into the corner. And we see a gap, an opening with the fence. And so once it goes out there, it's just a ground rule double.
So it is a double for Keller. He is at second base. And still 8-3 lead here now for Mary Washington in the fourth inning. And here lately, the last couple of innings, Mary Washington's done a pretty good job facing Justin King, going really throughout the ballpark, taking him down the line to right and over the fence to center.
And now you see the catcher out to talk to Justin. Now you'll see Coach Mann come out. The second visit now, they'll be making a change.
And this change will come with an 8-3 lead for Mary Washington here in the top of the fourth inning.
And we'll find out who the pitcher is, but whoever's coming in is coming into the Lions. Then it's Keim, and then it's Hout up to bat.
And it's also a 5-run deficit for the Knights with a runner at second base here in the top of the fourth inning.
It's like it's number 13.
Bradley Jackson.
And
interesting, they're bringing in their ace, their best pitcher, at least their best pitcher so far this season, Mike, into a relief appearance in the top of the fourth with your team down by 5. But again, as you mentioned, Logan Mann, very competitive.
Very competitive.
Brings out essentially his best pitcher in hopes of, and you don't know how long Jackson may go. He may only go an inning or two, but hoping to really obviously not allow any more runs and stymie Mary Washington the rest of this way here in the fourth inning and maybe give his team a chance, because it looks pretty bleak right now, 8-3 in the fourth inning. But if you can get out of this inning without allowing any more runs, maybe have a 2-3 run inning in your bottom of the fourth inning, hey, you're right back in it.
Well, he's got to believe that his offense is going to really wake up. Again, the wind's blowing out. We're on a short field. Anything that gets up into the air really has a great chance of going out of here. So you're not out of the game by any stretch of the imagination. Why not go ahead and say, you know what, we're getting ready to go play Salisbury. Yes, they're ranked in the top 10, but we need to win this game. So why not go with your best?
Yeah, you really have to focus on the games at hand. You can't sit there and say, well, Salisbury's unbeatable. We'll just focus on the games next week. It just doesn't work like that.
No, and again, you want to separate yourself from that pack that we talked about earlier, the 4 and 5 and the 4 and 6 pack in the Capital Athletic Conference. This game would help the Knights separate themselves from that and give them a leg up. Again, the number 3 and number 4 team have that first round game at home.
One thing's for sure, if you end up losing this game and you don't pull the upset at Salisbury over the weekend, that would put the Knights at 4 and 9. They would not be dead yet because of all the home games they have coming up against very beatable opponents, but that would leave, I would imagine, very little room for error.
Yeah, they would have to really win at least 4 out of the 5 next week. But also, you never know. That's why they play the game. It's not just to look at the paper and see who's going to win. The Knights can go to Salisbury and win there.
So Jackson is the new pitcher. Facing a right-hander for Mary Washington with a runner at second. Nobody gone here in the 4th.
Justin Keim, and then if he gets on, then you have Hout coming up, and we know we haven't seen him really show a lot of power in this game, as the Knights have been really pitching to him very, very carefully.
Well, we've seen Slubeck hit the 3-run homer and then a 2-run homer just a few seconds ago. And we haven't seen Hout with the power yet, but who knows? Maybe that's still to come. Runner at second. And Jackson's pitch.
I know Coach Mann doesn't want to see Hout with the power.
Not in an 8-3 deficit.
No.
And with runners on.
And right now, I think that's why they brought Bradley in, is to just stop the bleeding right now.
And King was really pitching pretty well, Mike. He just ran into some problems. And who knows? Maybe that delay of a few minutes, and when the Knights put a little rally together in the bottom of the second, I don't know if that really came into play as a factor or not.
Yeah, Justin had some great pitches. He just made 1 or 2 mistakes that the Mary Washington hitters, which is a very good offensive team, just took advantage of.
Jackson, the right-hander, staring back at the runner at second base. Comes to the plate, swung on, missed. Now, Mary Washington, as a team, they came in 7 and 5, but they also came in at 7 and 5 in the conference, but 16 and 5 overall. So they're 9 and 0 outside the conference.
And they've got to feel really good about that 9 and 0 outside the conference record.
Jackson taking a long time to work with Keim here, trying to get him out. Low pitch. Got away from the catcher momentarily, who was able to get in front of it and prevent the runner at second from going to third.
And this is the first time we've seen Bradley be able to pitch. We know we've been following him on stats-wise, but we really don't know what his pace of play is, and we're starting to find out now. Very deliberate.
This pitch is popped up into the short left field. It is caught by the left fielder Saunders. Nice grab.
Yeah, he had to run a long way for that. Good job of tracking it down and holding the runner to second base.
And now here comes Haught with a runner at second and 1 gone for Jackson.
And this is an interesting battle. You got your best pitcher up. You got your best hitter up. Which one is going to win this battle?
8-3 Mary Washington here in the top of the 4th inning. 1 gone, runner at second. And Jackson's pitch, high. You wonder if he'll just kind of work around him and put him on, Mike. That's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, it is. And again, they'll pitch carefully to him. They're not going to give him anything that he can really find in his wheelhouse.
That ball popped up and out of play to the left side. If Jackson can get out of this without allowing any more runs, it just comes down to the offense, whether they can chip away, get a couple of runs maybe in the 4th, and try to put the Knights right back into it.
And that's what Coach Mann is really hoping. They can stop the bleeding now and slowly get back into this game. 1 or 2 runs an inning and limit the Eagles to nothing and get back to this game.
Nice pitch there. Strike called. Jackson, the Knights' best pitcher so far this season against Hott, obviously the best hitter in the league.
And this
Not
will
sure
be
a lot of people expected Jackson, the senior, Mike, to come in and have this kind of season.
No, him coming in at this point, they were thinking probably be somewhere around the second or third starter, but has really just found his stride and put himself at the forefront.
Had that nice shutout against St. Mary's a few weeks ago on the road.
Yeah, anytime you can go on the road and gain a shutout, you know that you're doing something good.
Jackson against Hott, and here comes the pitch high.
And again, Jackson, very deliberate, making Hott wait and wait and wait and wait. I'm kind of surprised that Hott hasn't called time to break Jackson's thought process.
Hott waiting Jackson out. Jackson deals to the plate. Low, little inside, another ball called.
Neither one want to give in right here.
It's a big moment of the game, too, with the Knights down by 5. Don't want to fall any further behind, and this guy can obviously put a couple of runs back onto the scoreboard. This drilled to the right side. First baseman Prado makes the grab, flips to the pitcher who wasn't covering. Looks like Jackson thought maybe Prado was going to take it himself and was slow covering first base, and Hott is able to reach, and the other runner moves over to third base, so it's first and third with one out. And it looked like Jackson thought Prado was just going to take that himself, and by the time he realized that a throw was coming his way at first base, he was just not in a position to make the play.
Yeah, and that's one thing that you're taught as a pitcher always is ball goes to the first baseman. You have to be breaking as hard as you can towards first base. The first baseman will wave you off if
Right,
they need
right.
to. I think Hout's speed also surprised Jackson.
So now the runners are the corners. And this ball is hit out to left field. Saunders going to make the grab, but that might get a run home. They'll throw to the plate. It'll be cut off. Nope, they're going to not send the runner. Good throw by Saunders to stop Keller from trying to score on a sac fly. That ball not hit too deep enough, obviously, for Mary Washington to chance it. And then Saunders doing a good job out there in left field.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job. Very solid for the Knights.
And a big out. 2 gone, first and third.
Now, if Jackson can work out of this, not allow any more runs, the Knights can really go in with some momentum on the defensive side and try to channel that into their offense.
Yeah, if they can keep them off the board. This ball drilled, though, into right field for a base hit. Run will score. Hott's going to stop at second. First and second. Keller scores 9-3, Mary Washington. So just as we say that Jackson's about ready to work out of any further problems, the Knights are going to remain a 5-run deficit. Now it's a 6-run lead for Mary Washington.
And we'll probably see Mary Washington start being a little bit more careful, playing station to station, and instead of trying to stretch things out, just one base to the next in order to make sure that they keep their players safe and healthy.
9-3 lead now for Mary Washington. Left-handed hitter facing Jackson. 2 on, 2 out. First and second for the Eagles.
And
Bradley Jackson ready to deal. And that ball's fouled away.
Yeah, this is Slupek again, so you don't want to leave anything over the middle of the plate for him. We saw what he can do with it earlier on in the game.
Yes, Lupek hit a 3-run homer.
Bynum with a 2-run homer.
Yeah, Kyle Bynum plastering the longer of the 2 home runs, although both were no doubters.
And both of the line drive variety.
2 on, 2 out for Slupek. And here comes the pitch, and this one is cranked to the outfield to right field. And the right fielder grabs it for the 3rd out, and we have played 3.5 innings here from Rockbridge County High School with your score, Mary Washington 9 and Southern Virginia 3. Mary Washington leading here 9-3 over Southern Virginia as we start the bottom of the 4th inning. Tanner Wild, the hitter. Had a good double last time up. Knights trailed by 6 here. Remember, they led 2-1 at the end of 2. Wild swings and misses on that pitch. And then the roof caved in for King and the Knights as Mary Washington really went to work, Mike, offensively in innings 3 and 4.
They did, and it wasn't because Justin wasn't pitching well. He was pitching really well, just made 1 or 2 mistakes, left the ball hanging a little bit over the middle of the plate. But because Mary Washington is such a really good offensive team, they were able to take advantage of those mistakes.
Yeah, they got 9 runs, and 8 of those in innings 3 and 4, and 5 of those runs accounted for by home runs, 2 home runs.
Yeah, and those home runs were the line drive variety, which means they were really timing Justin well.
And now the Knights' only solution is to try to mount a little rally here, maybe get 2 or 3 runs back here in the bottom of the 4th to try to climb back into this thing. Check swing, called strike. Wild is gone.
And Mayflower still pitching for the Eagles, and if he makes it through this inning, he'll be pitching just as long as their starter did.
And certainly I would imagine, especially a reliever who hasn't maybe pitched a whole lot of innings, you get a 6-run lead and the pressure's off a little bit.
Yeah, you can just go out there and throw and let the spins work. The defense is right behind you, and they're jacked up a little bit and ready for the ball to come to them. So it becomes a whole lot easier as a pitcher when you have a big lead. Stanton up to bat now, and he's played a really good left field for the Knights.
Yeah, Saunders, the freshman. He grounds over to between the second and short and into center field for a base hit. So base hit for the Knights. They've got a runner at first.
Yeah, Ryan did a good job not trying to do too much with it. The ball was right there in the middle of the plate and took it right back up the middle. This is what the Knights need to do. Just hit the ball where it's at. Try to find the gaps a little bit. And if they can play station to station and string several hits together, we'll see some tallies on the scoreboard.
Luke Smith, the hitter. Leadoff hitter for the Knights with a runner at first and 1 gone here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Mayflower pitching to Smith. That's a ball.
And with the speed of Saunders on first base, anything that gets into the gaps, look for him to be going to third, maybe even home.
Burrow to first, and he's back. Well, this being the heart of the order, the top of the order, Mike, if they can get a couple of runs out of this, maybe the Knights can make a game of this. If they don't score in this inning with all their best hitters coming up, you start to wonder if they can come back, even though there's still plenty of time to go. We're only in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Yeah, 2 runs right here would be huge for the Knights to come out of this inning with 2 extra runs. Anything above that is just icing on the cake. Obviously, we would love to see the Knights score 10 right here.
Swung on and missed by Smith. And it looked like Mayflower maybe took something off that pitch a little bit.
Yeah, he may not be the hardest thrower for the Eagles, but he's really got command of the speed of his pitches.
Saunders at first, 1 gone. Pitch to Smith, hit to the left side and through. Base hit for Smith. Left fielder will get the ball back in quickly. The Knights have back-to-back hits. Runners at first and second, 1 gone. And now here is Andrus.
And again, Lucas didn't do too much with the ball. Hit it where it was pitched. And now the Knights are starting to time Mayflower.
So you got Andrus, Hildebrandt, Fenn, Prado coming up here. And the Knights really need a big hit here to maybe drive in at least 1. Trailing 9-3 here in the bottom of the 4th inning. 1-0 pitch. Driven right side. Bounced around by the first baseman who scoops it up and gets over to first base to get to the bag before Andrus. So now the Knights have second and third, but now 2 gone. Big play by the Mary Washington first baseman to knock that down and prevent it, Mike, from going into right field.
Yeah, it was a nice play, but again, CJ did a great job moving the runners over. Now a 2-out hit scores 2 runs.
So one of the key moments in the game for the Knights, who were trailed by 6, Hildebrandt's got a chance here with a single to make it a 4-run ball game. Obviously, Mayflower is thinking about getting him out and preserving the 6-run lead going into the 5th.
Yeah, this is one of your better batters for average for the Knights. I know Madison well. He's a very big competitor, just like Coach Mann, and he wants to really succeed in these type of situations. He lives for these things.
Mayflower, quick worker, comes to the plate. That ball's low. He's got first base open. He's also got, I believe, Fenn coming up next.
Yeah, and as deliberate as we saw Jackson work, Mayflower is working just as fast.
And he gets to strike out. And so a big out there for Mary Washington as they don't allow any runs for the Knights in the 4th inning. We have played 4. It is Mary Washington 9 and Southern Virginia 3. Welcome to Southern Virginia University Baseball here from Rockridge County High School. We have played 4 innings, and right now Mary Washington leads Southern Virginia 9-3. I'm Jim Bresnahan, joined here by Mike Harmon. And we're ready to go for inning number 5 with Mary Washington on top here by 6 runs.
And the Knights may look back on the bottom of that 4th inning and wish they had it back. Runners on first and second. C.J. Andrus grounds to the first baseman to move the runners over, and then Madison Hildebrandt comes up and strikes out.
Just couldn't get the big hit to get some runs home. And there's Mary Washington driving the ball into center field for another single. Picked up by Smith. They get it in, but a hit to lead off the 5th for Mary Washington's Eagles. Good chance to update other sports, Mike. And it was a rough sports day on Wednesday for some of these other sports. Men's lacrosse in action, women's lacrosse in action, doubleheader softball for the Knights. They were actually no hit in their first game yesterday.
Yeah, they went up against a Frostburg State team that is just really caught on fire, unfortunately for them. And the women played Frostburg also, and we've seen that Frostburg in women's lacrosse has just been phenomenal, along with Salisbury. And then the men's lacrosse team went up, I think, to Marymount and scored 10 goals, but didn't keep Marymount out of the goal count enough to get that first Capital Athletic Conference win.
And so you look at the lacrosse standings in the Capital Conference, and needless to say, the women, I'm looking forward to that matchup. I don't know when it comes or where they'll play at, but St. Mary's and Salisbury should be a heck of a ball game.
That should be one of the lacrosse games to watch. And if you go to the CAC Sports website, cacsports.com, they have those games. If they're being video broadcast, you can find that from the home team.
Runner was going, but the ball was fouled back. Salisbury having a pretty good season, too, in men's lacrosse. And it's hard to say who maybe is the best team for men's lacrosse this season. Well, I guess we'll find out in the next week or two.
Yeah, it'll start to shake out, and once the Capital Conference tournament begins, we'll see who's going to represent this very strong conference in the NCAA tournament.
Brian Burns, the hitter right now, runner at first base. Nobody out here for Mary Washington, top of the 5th inning. Burns drives the ball to center. Well hit into the gap between the left and center fielder. Smith picks it up. Burns will get a double. They'll hold the other runner at third. It's second and third. And Mary Washington just really raking the ball right now.
Yeah, they're seeing the ball really well, being able to put barrel on the middle of the ball, just squaring things up. I don't think Bradley Jackson's making bad pitches. It's just the offensive talent of the Mary Washington Eagles.
And you wonder how long maybe Bradley might keep pitching here as we're in the top of the 5th inning, but the team trails by 6.
Yeah, you see some activity in the Knights bullpen going on.
And Bynum is the hitter, dangerous hitter, as we saw with that last hit he had way over the center field fence, 2-run homer. And he's got 2 runners in scoring position. He's got a chance to really solidify that lead for Mary Washington with a single here. It might be 11-3.
Yeah, those 2 runs out on base right now. Whatever the Knights can do to keep them out of scoring runs is going to be paramount.
Jackson working slowly to Bynum. That pitch was high. Jackson ready to go again to Bynum. Low.
Jackson's just looking a little bit uncomfortable out there right now. I've seen several pitchers go and try to rake the mound a little bit with their foot. Don't know if the traction is just not there or if there's a hole someplace where one pitcher's been landing so much, but just doesn't look comfortable.
And that time Bynum looked like he was taken all the way. Takes the called strike. Bynum waiting on Jackson in a 9-3 ball game. And here comes the pitch. That's a strike.
And Bynum had a big swing on that one. Fouled it straight back. And anytime as a batter you foul it straight back, you know that you just missed.
Jackson trying to get Bynum with runners at second and third for Mary Washington here in the top of the 5th inning. And the pitch is hit on a ground to second and through into the outfield. 2 runs will score, 11-3. Right fielder is able to return the ball into the infield, but not before the 2-runner score. And now Mary Washington's got a big 11-3, and Bynum is having a pretty good day at the bat.
Yeah, and we saw the infielders for the Knights really pulled in, trying to make sure that anything that was hit on the ground kept the runners at second and third. Unfortunately, a bad bounce there. It got past the second baseman, and those 2 runs scored. So now the Knights are really behind the 8 ball, Jim.
8 runs behind here in the 5th inning. Bynum at first base now. Hitter's Keller. Hard to believe it was a 2-1 lead for SVU at the end of 2. We're in the top of the 5th, and now it's 11-3, Mary Washington.
And again, the pitching hasn't been horrible for the Knights. It hasn't even been bad. It's just been those 1 or 2 mistakes that they've made per batter. The Mary Washington Eagles batters have just really taken advantage of it.
And they have really hit the ball when they've taken advantage of it. A couple of home runs, but also some gappers. Only in the top of the 5th inning. It's already 11-3 Mary Washington. High pitch that time to Keller. High and tight.
And just as much as the Knights want to stop Mary Washington from scoring anymore, the Eagles want to add more runs to
Drill to left field. Saunders will play it bid, but not before Bynum goes to third base. And the other runner, the hitter, goes on into second. Keller at second, Bynum at third.
And again, right now we're just seeing a very efficient offensive team.
Justin King started for the Knights, carried a 2-1 lead into the 3rd inning. But since then, Mary Washington has scored 10 times, and they've got 2 more runners in scoring position here.
And now you got Keim and Houck coming up, two of the big hitters for the Eagles.
Jackson's pitch is high.
They've come back from a really good outing last weekend. Unfortunately, again, playing Frostburg State, number 12 in the nation yesterday, just wasn't able to score enough runs to win those games, but thought they had a great chance to compete with the Eagles of Mary Washington.
Called strike there to Keim. Jackson trying to escape any further trouble, but a couple of runs already in here. It's 11-3 Mary Washington, and they've got runners at second and third. Jackson deals low. They've got 11 runs, Mike, and we really haven't seen yet Hott really pound the ball.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't had to. That's what's so great about this Mary Washington
Keim
team.
drills it into left field for a base hit. Saunders scoops it up and will hold Keller at third. The other runner scores 12-3 Mary Washington now. And runners at the corners, and here comes Hott. Looks like Logan is going to stick with Bradley Jackson here.
There's it's getting to that point now where you're just sitting there saying, okay, now let's learn from lessons from this situation that we're in.
Ball gets away from the catcher momentarily, but not enough for the runner at third to advance. Other runner moves down from first to second, so second and third. Hott now has two runners in scoring position in this 12-3 ball game.
And now something to the right side will score at least one run. If he finds the gap, 2 runs, and we see
if he finds the fence, 3 runs.
Finds the fence, it'll be 3 runs. And I'm sure he's kind of frustrated with his lack of production, but he's got to be happy with the team outcome right now.
Conference at the mound here with runners at second and third. And the Knights trailing by 9 runs here in the top of the 5th inning.
You know, this has to be really frustrating for the Knights. They really had a good feeling about today, thought they were going to be able to really compete with Mary Washington, keep the game close, and then in the last few innings, hope that their offense would be able to score enough runs to win the game.
And of course, the first time these two teams met, I believe 4-1 was the final. Mary Washington scoring late in that one, late innings to escape with the victory. So completely different game that first time around than this 12-3 mauling. And again, we're only in the top of the 5th inning.
So while we got a few seconds, we'll look at some of the Capital Athletic Conference other sports. In men's lacrosse, you still have Salisbury 4-0 in the conference, 8-4 overall, and Frostburg 3-0 in the conference, and York 3-0 in the conference. So those 3 are really trying to assert their dominance.
Then in men's lacrosse, then obviously, Mike, you've got several momentous games coming up over the next few weeks to decide who's going to be the top dog.
Yes, you do. And then, like you said, in women's lacrosse, Salisbury and St. Mary's 4-0 and 2-0, both of them 8-2 overall.
Ball hit past the first baseman. Second baseman scoops it up, throws, and gets the runner at first base. So they get hot. Another run scores, 13-3 with a runner at third.
Well, and if the Knights need to find something positive about today, they can find it positive that Houck hasn't done anything to hurt him, and they've actually lowered his batting average.
But on the flip side, Mary Washington has scored a bunch of runs here.
Second visit now out to the mound. So that's the end of Bradley's day.
So Bradley Jackson will leave. And a new pitcher for the Knights.
Looks like that's number 20 for the Knights coming in.
Seth Burris, 6'3", freshman right-handed pitcher. And you wonder if he might get a lot of innings just to preserve everybody else when you're down by 10 runs here, Mike.
Yeah, and this is a great opportunity for him to get thrown into the fire and learn about the Capital Athletic Conference and what type of hitters they have and gain some experience.
You were talking about the different standings, and it's really been a tough season, obviously, for women's softball for the Knights.
And fortunately, they've fallen on some hard times with their games. In women's softball, it's Salisbury and Christopher Newport. Salisbury 8-0 in the conference. Christopher Newport 6-0 in the conference. Overall, it's Salisbury 20-1 and Christopher Newport 17-6. So when those two meet for a doubleheader, that's going to be just a knockdown, drag-out fight.
And then baseball, as we talked about, Frostburg and Salisbury, the top two teams, at least right now, although Mary Washington, even though they've lost a few games in the Capital Conference, making a case to really be among the top half of the conference here today.
Yeah, Salisbury at 10-0 in the conference, 15-0 overall. Frostburg at 11-1 in the conference, 20-2 overall. Mary Washington 7-5 in the conference, but 16-5 overall. Like you said, 9 games outside the conference, all of them wins, and we're seeing just what type of offensive output that Mary Washington has in them.
So Burris, the new pitcher for the Knights, he's ready to go against the left-handed hitter for Mary Washington with Keim at third base, and a 13-3 lead now for the Eagles of Mary Washington. Called strike there.
And I believe this is Monahan from on the left fielder for the Eagles.
Burris, the third pitcher for the Knights. King got the start. Jackson threw a few innings. Both pitchers struggled, at least in the last couple of innings. That ball, Burris bounces, but the catcher is able to block it.
So we've seen a lot of pitchers overall today. 4 for Mary Washington, 3 for the Knights. You can see both coaches really going deep into their bench.
And still a lot of innings left in this one, only the top of the 5th inning. Burris ready to go again. This one grounded to the right side. Second baseman Fields fires, and they get him. 2 gone here in the 5th. 10-run lead for Mary Washington. And the Knights also, in addition to trying to make a very tough comeback here in the second half of the game, Mike, looking at a tough road trip Saturday at Salisbury.
Yeah, and so they need to use the rest of this game to start to right themselves for that road trip to Salisbury.
James Sink, right-handed hitting outfielder for Mary Washington as the hitter, and he pops this one foul.
And I'm sure the coaching staff for the Knights in the dugout trying to coach the team up, not let them get too far down, but giving them the pointers that they need to make some corrections and to get them ready for the huge challenge of playing Salisbury.
And even if that goes badly this weekend, they can't let down there either, because they got a lot of winnable home games coming up next week. And if you win all those games, odds are if you can win all of them or maybe just lose one of those games, you got a great chance still to make the conference tournament.
Yeah, you don't want to let one bad game ruin the rest of your season. Next week is a huge week for the Knights. 5 winnable games in your conference that would really propel you into that top 4th spot. We keep on talking about Salisbury. They are ranked number 1 right now in the nation in baseball.
And having a pretty good spring, I would imagine, with the men's and women's lacrosse team.
And also the softball team. And we saw that their women's basketball team made it to the Elite 8.
Men's basketball team made it to the D3 tournament too.
So overall, their athletic department is having a great year.
This ball is fouled off down the left field line.
And the later we get into the day now, we're really starting to feel that wind pick up.
Sinks at first base. Burris trying to get out of the top of the 5th inning here. Burris deals, and that's a low pitch. Catcher lucky to block that one.
And Madison's doing a great job back behind the plate, blocking things up. And Burris can't be too nervous now. He's just got to go out and pitch. I know he's seen what devastating power the Eagles has, but this is a great learning and growing opportunity for him.
Mary Washington leads by 10 runs here in the top of the 5th inning. They have scored 12 times in the last 3 innings.
And like I said, they are a great offensive machine.
Burris might be waiting for the wind to die down and the dust from the infield to die down as well before he deals again to the plate. Burris will throw over to first. Ten-run lead for Mary Washington. Burris trying to get out of the 5th, and he throws another pitch low. This one will go over to the backstop, and the runner from first moves on to second.
It looks like Burris is just trying to overthrow too much, put too much effort into his curveball, and it's just dying way too early. Looking at Mary Washington's schedule, looks like they lost to Salisbury twice, won 8-2, but the next game was 10-9, so they're able to stick with the #1 team in the nation. They also lost to Frostburg twice.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see when Salisbury meets up with Frostburg, unless that's already happened this year. And I don't think it has.
No, I don't think it has either. And we'll try to look that up.
Frostburg's a pretty good ball club. Knights have lost twice to them, although the game yesterday was relatively close.
Yeah, Frostburg is ranked 12th in the nation. You know, you got Salisbury first. A great matchup there.
Burris ready to go again here with a runner at second. And 2 out in the 5th inning. That pitch called strike. Burris back to the plate. This one is hit and out of here. Another long blast for a Mary Washington hitter. And now it is 15-3 Eagles.
And that was one of those.
No doubters.
Yeah.
Outfielder never turned around. And that one, I believe, David Slupek. So now it's 15-3 Mary Washington here in the top of the 5th. Not the way the Knights were envisioning this one going. Not at the beginning of the game. Not certainly when they had a 2-1 lead in the top of the 3rd.
Yeah. And this is one of those hard lessons that you have to learn as a young team.
This one is popped to the outfield. Playable. Center and left fielder come together, and Saunders trying to grab it in front of the center fielder, drops the ball. That might have been a play where Luke Smith maybe should have called for that one, and he had a better angle, too, I think, on it, Mike. But the left fielder called him off and then just could not bring it home.
Yeah, unfortunately, again, we saw miscommunication problems happen with Jackson and Prado earlier on over at first base. Some miscommunication there with Saunders and Smith.
So a runner on first, and Burris bounces another one to the backstop, and this time the runner at first moves on to second. Hitter is Brian Burns. A 12-run lead now for Mary Washington here in the top of the 5th inning. That ball's fouled away. Burris against Burns, and Burris trying to get out of the 5th inning in a 15-3 ball game. And Burns launches one to the gap. This one's going to find the gap. Cut off by Smith. Another run score, 16-3. Long single for Burns.
Again, a lot of station to station going on. That brings Bynum up to bat, and we've seen how hot a bat he has.
Mary Washington has scored, I believe, 5 runs in this inning. They've hit around. And now they have scored 15 runs in the last 3 innings. 16-3 lead. That ball's high. Bynum, 6'3", 195 pounds, just a sophomore. Burris really struggling out there with his control and trying to keep the ball in the ballpark. That ball's high.
You know, and this is one of those games that you just have to file away once you get through it.
Bynum takes that one all the way and takes a walk.
And Burris is having a tough time finding the strike zone. He's just got to settle down. There's nothing he can do about the score. He has to try to pitch as much as possible.
So 17-3, first and second. Run lead here for Mary Washington. Burris to the plate, drilled again to the outfield, and Luke Smith is able to grab that one for the third out. So we have played 4.5 innings, and it's Mary Washington with a huge lead over Southern Virginia as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Jim Bresnahan and Mike Harmon ready to go here. Bottom of the 5th inning. Mary Washington offense rolling in the last 3 innings. They trailed 2-1 going into the 3rd inning, Mike, and now they've got a 17-3 lead as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning.
Yeah, we've just seen an offensive explosion by the Eagles of Mary Washington. The Knights really need to try to scratch some more runs out if they want to try to mount any kind of comeback.
And a base hit to left field for the Knights to start the 5th inning. Mayflower still the pitcher out there for Mary Washington.
Yeah, great job by Mason Finn finding that opening in between the shortstop and the third baseman.
So Prado should be coming up now.
You know, and this is about as long as Mayflower's been as far as his pitching depth. We're starting to see some people get up over in the bullpen of the Eagles. If the Knights can scratch out a few runs here and get further down into that bullpen for the Eagles, they may be able to pull something out.
Prado fouled that one back, ready to go. Mayflower throwing to Prado. Swung on, fouled again.
Well, that looks like he fouled that one off of his foot.
Fens at first. Nobody gone here at the bottom of the 5th.
It's been a very long day for all the pitchers that we've seen for the Knights.
Although Burris, I think, of the 3, obviously struggled the most, really struggled with his control. And when he got the ball over, Mary Washington was all over it. Yeah. Jackson came in relief, of course, of King, and he ran into some problems. Mayflower to Prado. That's a ball.
Yeah, as a freshman, Burris is going to learn, you know, that once you step into the pitcher's mound, you've got to have full control. So make sure that when you're warming up, every pitch is working.
Another ball to Prado. Fenn takes his lead at first, and Mayflower to the plate, and Prado swings. Looks like he fouled that one off, Mike.
Yeah, I think he fouled it off. Able to get just enough of it.
Mayflower really took something off that pitch.
Yeah, it's a great job by Gio to make sure that his hand stayed back just enough that he could foul it off.
And that one, he swings and misses at and goes down for the third strike. So Mayflower gets a big strikeout with Fenn at first.
You know, and it's not like the Mary Washington Eagles pitchers have really dominated this game either. The Knights have had several opportunities with runners at first and second or second and third to score some runs and just haven't been able to find that big hit.
This one is hit to the outfield and deep. And nice catch momentarily by Bynum, who then drops the ball in center field. Going to be station to station here for the Knights, though, because they were expecting a put out in center field. So the runner at first only goes to second. And it looked like Bynum had that one. He certainly was there in plenty of time. Just could not get the ball to settle into his glove.
Yeah, I think it popped off the heel of his glove, so he almost overran it.
So there's first and second now for the Knights with one gone. Mayflower gets a called strike there.
And got Zach McNally up, and again, just looking for little singles. And if doubles happen, great. We'll take them, but singles.
This ball is hit and through, base hit. That'll score a run for the Knights. Bobbled by Bynum, but the Knights are going to play safe and conservative and not try to take an extra base. So it's first and second, one gone, now 17-4.
Well, you don't want to do anything to kill a rally, and that error by the center fielder Bynum really opened the door for the Knights, and now we can start to see some momentum shift.
It would take a huge rally just to get back in this game, Mike. 5, 6, 7. But again, if you were able to at least get 4 or 5 runs out of this inning, there's still a long way to go innings-wise.
Yeah, you just want to chip away. Anytime you can get 3 or 4 runs to start to knock things down, by about the 7th inning, if you can be down to within 7 runs, by the way the lead is now, you'd be doing a really great job.
17-4 is your score here in the bottom of the 5th inning. One gone. Runners at first and second for the Knights. That pitch low.
And so now the right fielder Tanner Wild would really like to do the same thing, just a single.
Swung on and missed.
Oh, and a great change up there by Mayflower. Really got Wild out on that front foot.
So now 2 are gone with runners at first and second.
And now Ryan Saunders up to bat. And again, we see the Knights with the opportunities, first and second with less than 2 outs, and not be able to get that crucial hit.
There's a drive.
There we go.
Into the gap. That's going to maybe score 2. Bynum cuts it off. It looks like it's only going to get 1 home as Saunders moves into second base. 17-5 now.
Yeah, McNally's not the fastest person on the team. So that's why the only one run scored. And, but again, great piece of hitting by Ryan Sanders.
Now here's Luke Smith with 2 runners in scoring position, 2 gone. And the Knights now trailing 17-5. But hey, if Smith gets a hit here and plates 2, it's down to a 10-run margin. And he drills it, but he drills it straight up into the air to center field. Bynum should catch this one and does. And we have played 5 innings. Your score, it is Mary Washington 17 and Southern Virginia 5. We are ready to go. Top of the 6th inning, 17-5. Mary Washington with a huge 12-run lead here as the Knights were able to cut it down a little bit with a couple of runs in the bottom of the 5th.
Yeah, those 2 runs were nice to see the Knights get. Would love to have seen it a little bit more runs come up across the plate as they had first and second with less than 2 outs. But it is what it is. Now the Knights really have to make a defensive stand right here.
And Seth Burris is still out there pitching, Mike, and he's trying to get his control basically back where he can try to maybe get some outs and maybe some 1, 2, 3 innings here.
Yeah,
I pitched that time.
I'm thinking that Coach Mann wants to get Seth a lot of experience and let him eat up some innings, but Seth is going to have to find that strike zone.
Called strike there. Now, this one's not over yet. Still, again, officially 4 innings to go as Burris bounces that pitch up there, but the Knights are down by 12.
Yeah, and Burris is right in the heart of the lineup now. You got Kime and then Houck coming up, and these two haven't been really the
high pitch. And he hit him
like
or
he
walked
hit
him. I think it's like he hit him. So here comes Houck.
Again, the silver lining is how it hasn't hurt you. You've actually dropped his batting average down a little bit, but the more times he comes up, the more opportunities he has, and that's just not what you want to see.
Now he's looking for revenge, I would imagine, right here, trying to boost that batting average with a runner at first. Swings and misses. Moynihan's on deck. Nobody gone. Runner at first. Top of the 6th. High pitch to Houck.
And I know Coach Mann was really only wanting to face him at a maximum of 4 times, and now this is the 5th time up.
There's a called strike. If you'd have taken a look at just Houck's line and said, well, we're not in bad shape.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. Mary Washington hitter is doing a lot of damage beyond. How does that ball sails over Houck's head for a ball?
Yeah, their whole team is just really, for today, seen the ball well and been able to put the ball not only in play but put it out of play over the outfield fence.
The Slupex and, of course, Bynum. That one's fouled back. Seth Burris, freshman pitcher, 6'3", 165-pound right-hander. He is trying to get Houck with a runner at first. Houck takes a high pitch. Houck's got some pretty good plate discipline. He's just taking pitches that are not worthy of swinging at. There goes the runner. Houck swings and misses, strikes out. Runner will move on to second base with a steal.
Great job, Mr. Burris. Able to take down one of the better hitters in the Capital Athletic Conference, or the best.
Now here's Moynihan, the lefty, with Kime at second and 1 gone here in the 6th. If Burris can settle his control down, he might go the rest of the way, Mike.
Yeah, and that would be great for not only his development and his confidence, but great for the pitching staff for the rest of the nights for him to be able to earn some time to eat up some innings.
Kime out at second, taking a nice lead. That pitch high again. Yeah, Burris is alternating between going really high to hitters and then bouncing the ball up there.
Yeah, he's just struggling finding that release point, that slot that he would like to find for his arm to go into is just eluding him.
That ball bounced foul. So Moynihan has a strike on him. Knights will be on the road in baseball action, playing a tough doubleheader Saturday on the road at Salisbury.
You get to go play the #1 team in the nation. You have to travel not only with your defense, but your offense has to be able to come around right now, and they got to learn, be able to see the ball. So the rest of this game is about putting the ball into play, not taking strikeouts.
And Burris bounces another one up there. Trying to get Moynihan with Kime at second and one gone here in the sixth. High and inside. Burris trying to get Moynihan with a runner at second. And Burris delivers, and Moynihan cranks this ball to left, and it may leave the ballpark, and does. Moynihan, 2-run homer, 19-5, Mary Washington.
So Mary Washington came into the game with 10 home runs. We've seen 3 so far today.
4.
4. So they've almost.
And that ball, Mike just kept on carrying to left center.
It did, and as the days gone on, the wind has really started to blow out to left center a little bit more, and that ball just got up in that jet stream and just was pushed out.
So a 14-run lead again now for Mary Washington, 19-5. Sink the hitter. Burris delivers, and that ball is low for a ball.
You know, and if you're the coach for Mary Washington, you're hoping, you're happy that your offense is doing this because you're averaging about 8 runs a game. You just don't want them to run out of hits.
Sink drills that ball to right field, base hit, and it goes past the right fielder who overshot it. Sink will go ahead and stop at second base. Either that ball took a little bit of a spin, Mike, or the right fielder simply overran the play.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of both. Tanner Wild just got a little bit too far in front of that ball. Thought it was going to bounce and kick out in front of him, and it just spun the opposite way to behind him.
Burris continuing to struggle here in the top of the 6th inning. That ball ripped. First baseman makes the play, will take it himself. And the base runner Sink goes over to third. So 2 gone, runner at third here in the top of the 6th.
Well, for now, the Knights defense has to shore things up, and that starts with Burris throwing strikes. But throwing strikes not to the middle part of the plate. He needs to hit the outer thirds.
Thomas Weaver now the hitter, right-handed hitter for Mary Washington.
And then offensively, you don't want to think about, oh, we got to make up 14 runs. You want to think about getting to double digits now.
Runner at third, 2 gone. And that ball's low. Burris getting ready to work to Weaver here. Trying to find some control to get out of the 6th inning. Ball driven to Fenn, makes the nice play, goes over to first, and that is it for Mary Washington here in the 6th. Your score, Mary Washington 19 and Southern Virginia 5. We'll come back for the bottom of the 6th right after this.
Mike Harmon back with the Knights up to bat now. Bottom of the 6th. 1 out. Mayflower still the pitcher. Hot shot to first base. Taken care of. 2 down now for the Knights. Mason Finn up to bat now. It's been a very quick inning for Mayflower. Ball 1 to Finn, and Mayflower had the ball get into the sun and couldn't see it as it came back to him.
Hey, Mike, a lot of pitchers for Mary Washington today, but Mayflower settling in as maybe their best of the bunch today.
Yeah, Mayflower's done a really good job, but once you get to a certain point where you know you've got so many runs in the bats of your team, you can really relax and find your pitching groove.
Ball hit down to second base, play to first, and that's it. Quick 1-2-3 inning. We haven't seen too many of those, Mike.
No, we haven't. Unfortunately, it's for Mary Washington to have the 1-2-3 quick inning. Mayflower seems to have found his pitching groove, and unfortunately for the Knights, just not able to scratch out any runs against him in the bottom of the 6th.
It's a 14-run lead right now for Mary Washington as we start the top of the 7th. It is Mary Washington 19 and Southern Virginia 5. Well, Mike, we're ready to go top of the 7th inning. It is Mary Washington 19, Southern Virginia 5. And again, a lot of the damage for Mary Washington coming in innings 3, 4, and 5. It was a 2-1 game. Southern Virginia actually had the lead by 1 run starting the 3rd inning. And now here in the 7th inning, it is 19-5, Mary Washington.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of that damage came via the long ball. 4 home runs today by the Mary Washington Eagles.
And Burris still out there hurling for the Knights, and he just continues to struggle getting the ball to the plate, bouncing a lot of the pitchers here, the early pitches here in the top of the 7th inning.
Yeah, his release point's way off.
Facing Burns.
Struggling to find it because we can see him bounce 1 or 2 and then try to make an over adjustment and way high.
Way high that time. Ball 4 to Burns. And I know you want Burris to get some work here if you're Coach Mann, but you want to try to finish this game with a little bit of momentum. So you wonder if he'll just keep going with Burris here?
We see that there's two pitchers up in the bullpen for the Knights now.
Quick throw down to first, but the runner's back. And you've got a very dangerous hitter here in Kyle Bynum.
Yeah, Bynum.
Good athlete.
Has really struck the ball well, and he started some of those innings with home runs.
Ball there. And even though Mary Washington's got the big lead, they've got some pretty good plate discipline up there too.
They do. And what they're doing is they're not swinging at any of the junk that the Knights have been throwing.
Drilled down the left field line and foul.
Yeah, they're not just swinging at anything. They're going up there with great plate discipline, like you said, but they have a hitting plan. They know what they're looking for. Probably has a really good scouting report on the pitchers themselves and know what they like to throw, and then have divided the plate into half and looking for something middle in or middle out.
There's another foul back. Hard to believe, but a couple of weeks ago against Mary Washington, at Mary Washington, Mary Washington winning that game 4-1, but it was, I think, 1-1 in the bottom of the 7th, bottom of the 8th. And Mary Washington was able to break through with a couple of runs to really end up winning that ball game, but a drastically different outcome today than that ball game.
Yeah, it's just been a major offensive output by the Eagles. They've been really seeing the ball well, and as the weather's gotten warmer, it looks like their batters have really started to put the ball into play with more frequency.
Knights had a good beginning to this ball game, scoring 2 in the bottom of the 2nd to take a 2-1 lead, but it didn't last long. And Bynum fouls again.
Yeah, we were very optimistic after that bottom of the 2nd where they were up.
Justin King seemed to be doing okay. Very patient, working around hitters. Had a 2-1 lead in the 3rd inning, and then the roof caved in on him. Bradley Jackson came in hoping to stem the tide, and he could not. And now Burris has just really struggled with his control. It's been one thing after another as far as the pitchers are concerned for Coach Mann in Southern Virginia.
And if you have the correct amount of pitching and your fielders are playing well, you know, if being able to score 5 runs, you should be right in the game. Unfortunately for the Knights, the Eagles have just really hammered the ball.
Burris gets the strikeout there as Bynum swings and misses. Now looks like Keller will be the hitter here for Mary Washington. Burris gets the called strike, throw down to first, runners back.
And that's a good sign for Burris now. Coming after that strikeout, come right back with his first pitch strike. Good to see him starting to find a little bit of a rhythm.
Yeah, we talked about this, I think, with Biggs. From a softball standpoint, she was having problems with her release point. What causes that, Mike, and how do you fix it?
Well, sometimes you get really over-aggressive, and your stride length gets a little bit too short or too far away. You try to put too much spin on the ball instead of finding that normal stride length and then having that release point where you don't try to overspin it. That's when you find that rhythm. And right now it looks like Burris is just, his stride length is just not where he wants it to be.
And that smash went off Andrus's hands at shortstop. Not sure if he should have had that one. Could have had it maybe. The ball hit him, went into center field. Now Mary Washington's got first and third. Kime is the hitter. Justin Kime.
And
up and down this Mary Washington lineup, they've really had some hitters racking up some good numbers here.
They have. And one of the problems with a pitcher that can't find a release point is a little bit wild. Sometimes the fielders aren't really into the game because there's ball after ball after ball.
Yeah, you just never know whether it's going to be a wild pitch up to the plate, Mike, or if it's a ball that's going to be hitting and you're going to be asked to make the play. That pitch popped to first base, put away by the first baseman. So now 2 out. And runners at the corners. Well, the Knights, it'll be a tall order to shake off a loss like this, Mike, and then be ready for Salisbury on Saturday, but that's exactly what the Knights are going to have to try to do.
Well, you have to have a short memory. As soon as you leave this game.
And this one is drilled to the outfield, and it's going to fall. Run scores. And it's going to be a 20-5 ball game, as we'll have runners at the corners on the single by Kime.
And that was just a flick of the wrist.
A Huckabee with that, yeah.
Yeah, not even trying to swing hard at the ball, just flicked the wrist and put it to the fence. But you have to have a very short memory. As soon as they leave the ball field tonight, they have to be over it, look forward to practice a little bit tomorrow. And I know they're leaving tomorrow afternoon to go to Salisbury because it is a very long trip. You just can't carry this game with you.
And Logan Mann making a trip to the mound. Let's see if this is going to be it for Burris here in the top of the 7th with the score now 20-5, Mary Washington. Well, a chance just to knock off #1 Salisbury on Saturday. That ought to be enough to get any team ready to go.
Yeah, you have to relish that opportunity. You have the number one team in the nation in your conference. It's something that you just have to look at as a player and say, this is why I play baseball.
So pitching change coming up here for the Knights, Mike, as they'll be on to pitcher number 4 themselves now.
And I think that's number 1, Justin Cooper.
5'10" junior, left-handed pitcher.
And he is previously from the University of Mary Washington.
Hails from Fluvanna. He'll try to get the Knights out of further damage here in the 7th inning, as the Knights already trail by 15 runs, 20-5.
Yeah, so Justin just, again, looks like he's coming in a little bit relaxed. Has been in situations like this before, facing really tough teams as he comes from Mary Washington and faced other teams that have maybe been just as talented offensively as the Eagles are right now. And so hopefully we can see him come in and just get this last out for the inning.
Yeah, he's the 4th pitcher. You know, King started. King and Bradley Jackson, the 2nd pitcher. They just ran into a buzzsaw hitting-wise. Burris, the 3rd pitcher. He had some problems with that Mary Washington buzzsaw himself, but his biggest problem obviously was his control.
Yeah, and he just never found his rhythm and didn't look comfortable out there on the mound.
And so Justin Cooper is the 4th pitcher today for the Knights, who trail 20-5 here in the top of the 7th inning. Yesterday's game against Frostburg, I think that went 2 hours and 5 minutes. This one's going to run a little longer, Mike.
Yeah, we're already at the 2 hour and 35-minute mark.
Yesterday's game, what was it, 4-1, 5-1 loss for the Knights? They didn't get much offense, but they actually got pretty good pitching yesterday from Chris Madison, the 5'11" senior pitcher.
Yeah, Chris arguably pitched his best game of the season yesterday.
Ready to go here. Runners at the corners for Mary Washington. Cooper, the left-handed pitcher, throws a strike with his first pitch.
And that's a great way to start. Coming in, start throwing strikes.
Cooper's next pitch, inside, ball 1. Runners at the corners, and Cooper throws a strike there, 1-2.
And you see he's really trying to keep the ball down. As again, the wind's blowing out to left center, and anything that gets elevated, that wind will aid it and give it a few more extra feet.
Lefty-lefty matchup here, and Cooper, the 1-2 pitch. Low, now 2-2. Cooper trying to get out of the top of the 7th for the Knights, and he fires, and this ball is hit to the outfield. Right fielder right there makes the grab, and we have played 6.5 innings. It is Mary Washington on top here, 20-5. Knights are ready to hit here in the bottom of the seventh inning, trailing here 20-5. Mary Washington leads it.
A good place to start is Gio Prado. Like to see him really find his swing back.
Prado leading off the seventh inning for the Knights. That ball high.
And right now, again, the Knights are trying to use this to help them get ready for this weekend. Tomorrow they're leaving for Salisbury. Salisbury is ranked #1. You got to be ready to play as soon as you get off the bus and then walk onto their field. They have a little bit of a swagger. You got to come in with your own swagger.
Well, Mayflower continues to work here for Mary Washington. He gets Prado to foul that one off.
And Mayflower has been very effective, been changing speeds really effectively and keeping the batters of the Knights off balance.
And coming after the hitters. He hasn't had any control problems per se.
But this is the longest outing that he's had this season.
And even though they're down by 15, the Knights, have scored 5 runs. There's a walk to Prado. They could have a few more. They've left some people on base.
They certainly have, and we've seen that at least 3 times in this game where they've had first and second or second and third and less than 2 outs and just haven't been able to push those runs across.
So Prado's at first to start the 7th inning for the Knights. Mayflower's pitch high and tight.
There's Caleb Kaplan up to bat.
Drilled to center field, base hit. Bynum gets in front of it, returns it quickly. Knights have their first 2 on, first and second, nobody gone.
And we've seen this from the Knights before where they get these first 2 runners on and then unfortunately not be able to really capitalize. So now is the time for them to work on capitalizing on mistakes that the other team makes, because that's what you're going to get with Salisbury. They're not going to make very many mistakes, but when they do, you have to be able to take advantage of it.
There's a called strike from Mayflower. And the ball returned from the catcher, gets through, gets by the pitcher, and the runner at second moves on to third base. Good piece of running by Prado to get over to third as the catcher threw that ball back to Mayflower and it rolled past him.
Yeah, Gio is always aware when he's on the baseball field, just a true baseball player.
This ball hit towards the outfield, but the second baseman will grab it before it gets to the outfield, makes the catch. And so runners remain on the corners, and now 1 gone for the Knights. So it'll be Tanner Wild coming to the plate with runners at the corners, 1 gone.
And we'll have to see if Coach Mann's going to do anything aggressive.
There's a drive to second base. Second baseman grabs it. They go for the double play, and they get it. Mary Washington turns 2 and gets out of the 7th inning. We have played 7. It is Mary Washington 20 and Southern Virginia 5. Jim Bresnahan, Mike Harmon here at Rockbridge County High School, ready to start inning number 8. It is 20-5. Mary Washington leading Southern Virginia. The Knights came in with such hopes today, Mike, because Mary Washington was only a couple of games ahead of them in the standings, and the Knights were needing a victory to really remain in the thick of the race for the top 6 for the postseason tournament in the Capital Athletic Conference, and they still have those hopes, but right now their hope today crushed by Mary Washington's offense 20-5 as we start the top of the 8th inning.
Yeah, and those hopes were fueled by the last time they played them, the final score of 6-5. The Knights were able to keep the Mary Washington Eagles down under their average production of 8 runs a game. Coming into this game, they thought, they're on our turf. They've had to travel. We've been able to stay with them, but unfortunately those hopes just raveled away from them as the Mary Washington Eagles batters have really jumped on the mistakes that the pitchers for the Knights have made.
Now the Knights are on their 4th pitcher right now in left-hander Justin Cooper facing Sink, the right-handed hitter, who strikes out. Cooper with the strikeout.
Great job by Cooper coming in, just going ahead, attacking the hitters, and making them swing at his pitches.
Yeah, Cooper not having the control problems that the 3rd pitcher, Burris, had.
Well, Cooper's a junior, been through some of the wars before. Burris is a freshman coming in, looked a little bit wide-eyed and in awe of some of the batters of the Eagles.
One gone for Mary Washington here in the top of the 8th inning. Lefty-lefty matchup here. And that ball is hit and going out of the ballpark. Home run number 5 for Mary Washington today, and that was a no-doubter over the right center field fence.
Yeah, that looked like it was just a breaking pitch that didn't break, just was spinning right there in the middle of the plate.
David Slupek, I think that is his second home run today.
And that was like you said, a no-doubter. He put everything he had into that one.
Slupek with a couple of home runs today. Andrew Slupek, who at times was a pitcher today for the Eagles, he got a home run today. See, Bynum had a home run. Missing one in there someplace. I know they've got 5 today. That pitch is popped up. And the first baseman makes the grab for the Knights. Nice catch.
I think Moynihan has a home run.
There's the other one, yeah.
For him. So there's been several balls that have gone over this.
And they've hit him to right field. They've hit him to left and left center. Now the hitter is Brian Burns. So going to be a big win today for Mary Washington. They'll improve to 8-5 in the conference. Knights will drop to 4-7 with a tough doubleheader coming up on Saturday at Salisbury. And even if they were to lose those games, Mike, again, they've got some winnable home games coming up next week. So if they end up losing that doubleheader at Salisbury and drop to 4-9, they can rest assured they've got a lot of winnable games coming up at home the following week. But then the margin of error to try to make the top 6 gets a little smaller.
It sure does, but they do have 5 very winnable games next week, and so if they happen to lose both of them at Salisbury, they can still come out at the end of next week at 9-9.
Yeah, you got to figure if you sweep those games and finish 9-9, you're most likely going to be in. You might be able to afford one loss and maybe slide into the tournament as one of the top 6 teams with a conference record of 8-10, but obviously no way to tell about that.
Yeah, it's just how's everything going to shake out next week. A lot of teams are playing a lot of games because of the weather problems that we've had at the beginning of the season.
Bynum is the hitter. Seen a lot of the same hitters, Mike. No replacements in there. Saw a lot of pitchers early from Mary Washington. There's Bynum driving the ball into left field. Picked up by Saunders. He'll get it back in. And the runners are at first and second.
And Cooper's doing a great job of finding the strike zone. It's just that the Mary Washington Eagles batters are doing a great job of finding that ball in the strike zone.
And Mary Washington owns a 21-5 lead here in the top of the 8th inning. Now I think Keller is going to be the hitter. Left-handed Cooper. Keller right-hander. He pops it up. Center field. Smith there makes the grab, and that is it for Mary Washington here in the 8th. We have played 7.5. It is Mary Washington on top here, 21-5. We are ready to go. Bottom of the 8th inning. New pitcher, Mike, for Mary Washington, and it looks like it's going to be Eric Jorgensen, 6'1" sophomore, right-handed pitcher.
Yeah, I saw him up earlier in the bullpen trying to get some work in. Looks like now that the Eagles are going to try to make sure that their pitchers stay nice and loose and maybe get this Jorgensen and maybe one more in the 9th inning, a few inning of work.
21-5 is your score. Mary Washington on top by 16 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Sanders up to bat for the Knights, and again, he's just trying to look for any way to get on base, trying to find some offensive, some offensive momentum for them to go in to play against Salisbury.
I'm still thinking of that prophetic statement you made back in the second when you said a 2-1 lead's not going to cut it. Boy, were you right.
Yeah, I didn't know things would fall apart for the Knights like that. I was hoping it'd be like a 7 or 8.
Yeah, or maybe a 10-9 game.
That'd been,
Yep.
obviously for the Knights. But
it unraveled quickly in innings 3, 4, and 5.
It did, and it's because of multiple home runs with runners on base.
Yeah, those they've hit 5 home runs today, Mary Washington, and several of them have come. Maybe all of them have come with runners on base. I'm not sure if any of them were solos.
Yeah, the last one that they hit was just that Cooper gave
That's right,
up.
solo. That was the 5th
solo.
one. The 5th one was a solo blast. The first 4 all had runners on base. This one is grounded to the right side. First baseman will make the play himself for Mary Washington. One gone here for the Knights in the 8th.
You know, the good thing about the Knights offense, we haven't seen the Knights go down looking at third strikes or swinging at third strikes too much. I think there might have been only 2 or 3 strikeouts in this game. Just unfortunately, when they put the ball into play, they're hitting it right at the Eagles.
Well, next week, no webcast coming up this weekend, Mike, I believe. But next week we've got baseball scheduled for Tuesday, the Emory and Henry game. That's a non-conference game for men's baseball. Wednesday, I believe, men's lacrosse. And then the doubleheader with Harrisburg is scheduled for April the 11th. And, of course, on the 15th, we've got our final women's lacrosse webcast. And then I think on the 21st, if it goes forward, softball doubleheader with Bridgewater.
Yeah, they're getting ready for the CAC conferences tournament.
Which ought to be around the 14th and 15th, 16th.
Yes,
yeah.
it will be, but there's a lot of games with Capital Athletic Conference teams scheduled after the Capital Conference because there's almost a month in between the Capital Conference and the regional play for baseball.
Long delay there. Wonder how that impacts teams that are headed for the national tournament.
I just looked at Salisbury, and they have about 7 or 8 games scheduled after the CAC tournament, trying to keep them sharp and prepared for regional play. Now, how the Knights would prepare for that, I have no idea. This is something new. Again, we're brand new into the Capital Athletic Conference.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something for the Knights to try to figure that out by, getting into the Capital tournament, maybe winning a game, and then shocking maybe a Salisbury and Frostburg and winning the whole thing?
That would be absolutely amazing. But then the next order of business for Coach Mann was, how am I going to keep my team sharp for the next month? Well, there's a week off that they have to have at the end of April for exams.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 weeks later, that's when the regionals start, is on the 14th.
Jorgensen, the right-handed pitcher, with a runner at first now for the Knights.
I'm sure that'd be a great problem that Coach Mann would love to have, is trying to figure out what to do in those extra 2 weeks.
Well, you get to those tournaments, and it only takes one outing to knock off a Salisbury or Frostburg. And the Knights have played Frostburg relatively tough. The first game, they scored 10 runs on them, even though they gave up 19. And then yesterday, played them pretty tough, just couldn't manufacture any offense.
Yeah, so that's why you play the games. If it was just look at the numbers on the paper, the favorites would always win. But what's so great about tournaments is that's when the underdogs can really come out and have just a great run of 2 or 3 games and do the unthinkable by knocking off the top-rated teams.
21-5 your score. Jorgensen just trying to throw strikes and get out. It's for your Mary Washington here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Wind's really picked up over the last couple of hours, Mike, and sun is starting to set. There's a called strike.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that wind, when it started to pick up, that's when the home runs really started to happen, as the Eagles were able to get the ball high enough into the air so that the wind could affect the travel flight of the ball.
That pitch low and away, wild pitch, and the runner will move up to second base. Well, we saw Bradley Jackson today, very deliberate pitcher, but even he couldn't stem the tide against this Mary Washington offense.
Yeah, once you start rolling as an offensive team and everybody starts hitting, it becomes very contagious. It's really hard to slow them down.
Knights have a runner at second here. And Jorgensen, the right-handed pitcher, gets the hitter to pop up foul and out of play.
And we'd really like to see CJ find the top half or middle of the ball and just drive it.
Andrus has kind of struggled at times today to really get some hits. He's got a chance with the runner at second to deliver an RBI single and picks up the walk instead. So now the Knights have runners at first and second.
And that's good plate discipline and patience. Knowing that you're down by so many runs, but not just going up and swinging at anything.
Now Madison Hildebrand will be the hitter. Seems like ages ago that Hildebrand had a chance to really cap off a big inning for the Knights and left a couple of runners on. He has a swing there at a high pitch, and that's ruled a strike.
Yeah, Madison's really struggled a little bit today with the pitching of the Eagles, just not seeing the ball well, or taking some hacks at some of the offerings
Swung
that
on a
just
miss there.
outside the strike zone.
2 quick strikes on Hildebrand against Jorgensen. Jorgensen deals 0-2 pitch. Wasted that one outside, 1-2. And back comes Jorgensen, high pitch off the catcher's glove. Runners will move up a base, and the runners now at second and third for the Knights. And a 2-2 count on Hildebrand.
And I'm sure when the Mary Washington coach put in Jorgensen, he wasn't envisioning this. He'd probably told him just throw strikes.
Which is what Mayflower had been doing.
Yes.
For Mary Washington. Jorgensen, 2-2 pitch. And he gets Hildebrand on strikes for out number 2.
Well, Jorgensen hadn't thrown anything off speed yet. He's coming right after the Knights hitters with a lot of speed.
And now it'll be Mason Fenn, the junior third baseman, coming up here for Southern Virginia. Again, 2 runners in scoring position here in the bottom of the 8th inning. First pitch must have hit the bat. Kind of a check swing by Fenn. It was up and in.
Yeah, it's one of those defensive swings. Unfortunately, just caught part of the bat for a foul.
So 0-1 the count on Fenn. Prado on deck. Knights down by 16. They'd love to plate these 2 runners from second and third. Jorgensen would like to get out of the inning. And that one is a ball.
Well, this is the 4th time that we've had runners on second and third, and if they don't score them this time, that's 8 runs that we've left on the field. And that makes it a much more respectable score.
There's a called strike. So Fenn needs to deliver right here with runners at second and third and 2 gone. And he swings. The ball gets by the catcher. Catcher will try to get him at first and does. And that will end things for the Knights here in the 8th inning. We have played 8. It is Mary Washington 21 and Southern Virginia 5. Well, we're ready to go. Top of the ninth inning. It is 21-5. Mary Washington on top. And to kind of recap this one, and we'll be a little hazy once we get beyond the third and fourth inning, Mike. But again, Mary Washington scored first. Knights scored 2 in the second to make it 2-1. Knights actually carried a 2-1 lead in the third inning, and then all heck broke loose for Mary Washington as they routed the Southern Virginia pitchers in innings 3, 4, and 5, especially to jump on top, get it to double digits. And right now it's a 16-run lead for Mary Washington heading into the top of the ninth inning.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Knights pitchers pitched pretty well. Not a lot of problems except for making one mistake, and that one mistake for the batters they just really jumped on. 5 home runs for the Eagles.
Cooper, actually, Justin Cooper, the lefty out there right now, has pitched as good as anybody, maybe the best outing today by a Southern Virginia pitcher, and even he has given up a home run, and this one is hit to right field and catchable and is caught by the right fielder.
Yeah, so Cooper's right now, he's showing Coach Mann, hey, give me the ball more. This is what I can do. And, you know, he's held this potent offense of the Eagles to just a solo home run, which if you could do that over a period of 5 to 6 innings, it puts you in great shape to beat them.
Well, Mary Washington will have beaten the Knights twice this season. And even though they had some close calls, this is a team that also lost twice to Salisbury. You wonder how good Salisbury really is. Number 1 in the country, obviously, and the Knights will find out on Saturday.
Yeah, they'll see what the number 1 ranked team is. Unfortunately, for the Knights, there's usually pitchers or teams in the Midwest that really just hammer either CNU or Salisbury regularly when they get into the regionals of play. So as good as Salisbury or CNU is, you usually find someone that much better in the Mid-American conferences.
Well, you know, Salisbury found that out, I guess, in women's basketball. They had a great season, but lost twice to Montclair from New Jersey.
Exactly.
Not sure if Salisbury, you know, what the capabilities might be for them, perhaps in lacrosse, as that ball is popped into left field. Saunders tracks it and puts it away. So 2 gone here for Mary Washington in the ninth. You got any predictions, Mike, about not only who's going to emerge as the top lacrosse team in the Capital Conference this year, but what kind of damage those teams might do in the national tournament?
Well, you have to look at Salisbury first, being national champions. They're starting to find that chemistry again and really put things together. So until someone beats them in a regional, I'm going to stick with them as being the team to beat.
Although, you know, some of these ODAC teams have had pretty good seasons, and the one that comes to mind, Lynchburg, ODAC, Catholics having a pretty good season.
Yeah, Washington and Leeds having a good season also. But there's just something about that swagger that Salisbury has. Once they get to postseason play, they've just been there before, and they understand how it's supposed to happen.
2 gone for Mary Washington quickly here in the top of the ninth inning. Knights will have one more crack at it in the bottom of the ninth inning. We mentioned that right now, weather permitting, we are scheduled to webcast the game with Emory and Henry, I believe, next Tuesday, Mike, but do see some 4 or 5 days away, some rain in the forecast next Tuesday and Wednesday.
Well, the good thing about it being 4 or 5 days away, it could dissipate or go around us. So we're hoping that we're able to get that game in.
Kind of hard for the Knights to play a non-conference game against Emory and Henry, sandwiched in with all those conference games next week.
Well, in order for their season to count, they have to get 25 games in. So it's very paramount that they do whatever they can to sneak those games in before the end of the season.
Because they've got a doubleheader with Wesley scheduled Monday, a single game with Newport on Wednesday, and, of course, another doubleheader on Saturday, April the 11th against Penn State Harrisburg. Cooper gets the called strike, and that is it for Mary Washington here in the ninth inning. We'll go to the bottom of the ninth. It is Mary Washington on top here, 21-5. Well, Mike, the Knights ready to go here at the bottom of the ninth inning, trailing by 16 runs, 21-5. Mary Washington on top. And a new pitcher for Mary Washington as well. Looks like Thomas Weaver, who's had a few at-bats and played in the field, will now come in and pitch.
Also a new batter, Wyatt Robledo for the Knights.
First pitch, a ball. Robledo's a freshman, and he takes ball 2.
So in this last inning, Coach Mann trying to get some extra people in to get a few swings on deck.
With this loss, will drop to 4-7 as Robledo drills the ball to right field. Right fielder is there, makes the grab along the line. One gone for the Knights here in the ninth inning. So Mary Washington's going to improve to 8-5, Mike, and solidify their position in the top 3 of the Capital Conference. A loss would have really damaged that, would have brought them closer to the 500 mark. Now they're 3 over 500 with this victory today, and the Knights will drop to 3 under 500 in the Capital Conference at 4-7.
Yeah, this is Andrew Price up to bat now for the Knights, another pinch hitter. Mary Washington's really put a stranglehold on that third place now. They've distanced themselves from the pack that was starting there at 4-5 and 4-6. Unfortunately for the Knights, they're stuck there. Looks like unless they do something really dramatic over this weekend, they'll come back even further down in the standings, but have a great opportunity and chance next week to really get 5 conference wins.
Yeah, if they end up losing 2 at Salisbury, they'll be 4-9, but they'll have 2 against Wesley on Monday, Newport on Wednesday, 2 against Harrisburg next Saturday, a week from Saturday. So if you win those games, you're back to 9-9. And even 4 out of 5, 8-10 final record might be able to get you in the top 6.
That should put you in the top 6.
But 9-9 should definitely do it.
Yes. The only thing is you might not be hosting that first round, which would be really great for the Knights. But just getting in, a nice drive there by Andrew Price.
And Bynum right there didn't hardly have to move at all to make the catch in center field for the second out. The only problem is you get to that point at 4-9. And if indeed 8-10 won't cut it, 9-9 is going to have to be what you're going to shoot for. There's obviously at that point no room for error.
But one of the teams that you're really battling is Christopher Newport. So if you can give them an extra loss on your home field, that really just catapults you a little bit further.
I'm sure Logan Mann will be the first to say, hey, we're just going to have to take them one at a time. And if we end up losing to Salisbury Saturday, we're going to have to really double our efforts and be ready for Wesley on Monday.
Yeah, Logan will remind his team to go one game at a time. We're the ones that can look forward to a week at a time.
And the hitter bounces out to the pitcher, and this game is over. So, Mike, a tough outing today here for the Knights, who fall to Mary Washington 21-5. They'll just try to find a way to bounce back against the number 1 team in the country, Salisbury, on Saturday.
Yeah, they have to put this game behind them as they go play Salisbury. Now, they have a great opportunity to play the number 1 team in the nation, to find out what a top-ranked team really looks like and how they carry themselves. And you never know. Baseball is a funny game. if they can split with them, I'm sure that ride back from Salisbury, which is about a 6-hour ride, would be so much sweeter.
So good luck to the Knights on Saturday. Tough ball game here for the Knights against Mary Washington here from Rockbridge County High School. Again, your final score today, Mary Washington 21 and Southern Virginia 5. For Mike Harmon, I'm Jim Bresnahan. Thanks for joining us, everyone.